You know it's this. Take a perk and talk it and see. Money swallowed like sis. They done perfected the kid. Got a billion who take on my hate. Nothing better. Put out the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil, they shit ain't not cheaper than
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the second part of What If Naruto Becomes Sukuna. Smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. New paths. Naruto and his new friend finished their routine in Wave. They had been training there for another month before deciding to part ways with the country. Not that they didn't want to stay, but Naruto was sure that in time the Leaf was going to find out that he was not at the prison anymore and then come looking for their allies. While he held resentment and anger to the Leaf, he held none for the allies of the village, not wanting them to get dragged into his conflict with Konoha. So, after bidding Tezuna and his family and those in the country farewell, they both proceeded outward. They got some supplies, which is why they were camping in the woods. So, the dark-haired man looked at Naruto. Where are we going next? Don't know. Naruto leaned back on the grass. Anywhere we go, someone is bound to know who I am. I mean, not too many people that look like me, you know. Plus, the most irritating thing is that the Leaf most likely knows of my time in the prison and escape. From there, they would send out ANBU and hunters to look for me to drag me back, thinking that if they clear up their mess with me, things will return to how they were. Naruto snorted, as if, I'm done with the whole shinobi life. From now on it is all about what Naruto wants, and those that choose to stand with me shall profit. The young man nodded. Yeah, I feel you. He looked up at the stars. I always wanted to travel, but due to my affliction I was always afraid of going to places that were populated, you know. Yeah, I feel you there. Naruto looked at the stars. Maybe we can find something that is interesting enough to keep us going, you know. Maybe something that would give us a purpose. Naruto sighed. Man, it sucks. My whole life was for the Leaf and now it feels like there is a hole and I don't know how to fill that hole. Naruto sat up. But first we have to get you a name. He stared at him. I'm not going to call you no name, and I hate referring to you as the stranger next to me. So, do you have any idea of what you want to be called? He shook his head. Naruto groaned. Man, you're sometimes a headache, you know that. Naruto then smiled. But then again, that is probably what makes you a great traveling partner. The man smiled. Yeah, I feel the same way. But still we need some kind of destination. Naruto felt his mind waver. Then why not travel to my homeland? Huh? The man looked up and saw Naruto's confusion. Is it Sukuna? Yeah, it is. What do you mean your homeland? Naruto saw a mouth appear on the side of his cheek, and while normally that would have freaked him out, he did this twice while they were in Wave so that he can converse with the group. So after the second time it was not that surprising to him or his friend. My home. You see, years ago I formed this temple during the early periods before what you call the shinobi era began. There, I studied and researched chakra and learned a path of enlightenment unlike most around me. Others only focused on light chakra manipulation and enlightenment, and there is no doubt they got much stronger from this process. However, they never realized that to gain true enlightenment, you must completely understand dark chakra to go with your light chakra. I had students appear after a few years passed and people heard of what I did. They studied relentlessly under me, and some even managed to achieve their own heightened states, but sadly, not a single one was able to reach my state of enlightenment. Is there a point to this story? Naruto was really wanting to get to the center of this matter. Yes, there is, shithead. You see, while I was building my home I found something very interesting underneath. It turned out that this was some kind of temple of sorts, one I had never seen before or after. Honestly, I wasn't sure what the fuck it was and kinda left it alone for a while. But after reaching a higher level of understanding I decided to give it another look over and was surprised that the thing seemed even older than I expected. How it works is a mystery to me, however the thing was incredible. It gave me insight to the culture that was before our own, their studies, their methods, and their teachings. On top of that, I learned that this thing could grant weapons. Not just any weapons, but sentient weapons of great power. Interesting. The dark-haired man frowned. Are you saying that it matches someone with their preferred weapon or somehow changes to suit the user's desire? Exactly. I used it and gained a scroll of infinite knowledge, allowing me nothing but endless information to be stored on it for future uses. However, after that bastard Hagoromo sealed me away, the scroll disappeared, meaning all that knowledge was lost. That sucks. Yes, but then again probably for best. Hagoromo had it in his head that chakra should be used by all as to promote peace or some garbage shit like that. Knowing this train of thought, I was worried about what would happen if he got his hand on my scroll, or the machine. Imagine him just handing out sentient weapons to every stupid fuck that came that way. Now granted, I did create some weapons that might have had a bit of a negative reputation, especially in today's age by the sounds of it. The 7 deadly mist swords, the great sealing jar, a powerful fan, and a powerful lighting blade. Both boys' eyes widened. Those were all weapons crafted by this so-called sentient being. Now they were interested. So you want us to find this chamber and gain something for ourselves, right? Exactly, and before you ask, no, there is no way someone could have found the chamber after all this time. Not only was the entrance sealed by yours truly, but the method to enter the room was also sealed by me. That was to stop Hagoromo from actually doing something like I previously mentioned and just making things more chaotic. I might be evil by definition of the people around me, but I still have some common sense. Naruto nodded, and so did the young man. So do you at least know what the place was called before you got sealed? Might help if we knew which direction we are going to go in. Land of Darkness, just because I was there. Hagoromo really was a whiny little bitch, I swear. Even his sons were less annoying than him. Naruto's eyes widened. You actually met both of his sons? I thought you only met the older one. Wait, the guy we're talking about is the sage. Naruto looked up. Yeah, he is. Apparently he belonged to some clan called the Otsutsuki or something. Apparently they were just a bunch of godly beings that had access to chakra whenever it suited them. But one apparently went beyond that and became a goddess. I see. Yeah, after Hagoromo and his brother defeated their mother, he started spreading his teachings and chakra everywhere. While the toads did help in this process, they didn't tell him to spread it among the people so wildly. Even they were smart enough to know such a thing was foolish and too idealistic. But he did, so that was a problem emerging with his 2 sons, Ashura and Indra. Both boys were the opposite of their father in every conceivable way. One being more driven by his strength and having the powerful eyes of his soon-to-be-formed clan, while the other was considered the weaker of the 2 of them. He had a way with words and managed to earn the love and respect of the people. But then the day came and he chose the younger sibling to succeed him, angered the older one. However, from what I gathered from the 2 brothers, there was some reconciliation between them. While the older brother was still angry to be overlooked, he came to terms that it was not his brother's decision but their father and grew to hate him. That is when he came to my temple asking me questions about things and asking me to guide him. At first I was reluctant, but I agreed once he annoyed me. From there, we went through some of my teachings and philosophies, and surprisingly the guy started to chill the fuck out. Even started his own family, which he promptly distanced himself from his father, calling himself Indra Uchiha. As for the younger one, well, he came and talked to me, and after reconciling with his brother, both agreed to walk their own paths away from their father. However, that wouldn't happen as he heard what I did, and after coming at me with the box sealed me inside, but the last thing I did to him before the sealing was impale him through the chest, telling him that he would die soon and that all he was doing was breeding stupidity into the world, and I will one day see it with my own eyes. Turns out, I was right. Naruto frowned. That was a lot to take in. You said, he looked at the mouth, that the other brother distanced himself from his father, but what did he call his family? Ah, that was the thing. He had 2 clans that emerged from his bloodline, Senju and Uzumaki. I see. Naruto looked back. So in a way, buddy, we are distant relatives to one another. He smiled, kind of funny. The man smiled. Yeah, well, we should get some sleep, and once we arrive in a town tomorrow we can ask about the Land of Darkness and see what it is called now. Naruto laid on the grass and closed his eyes while drifting off to sleep, while the black-haired man stared at the fire. He would look over at Naruto and smile. I guess traveling with a friend is more fun than expected. Wonder how this is going to go tomorrow. Next day, Naruto and his friend were just staring ahead. So you want to deal with this, or should I? I think it doesn't really matter. They aren't going to let us pass without a fight. True. Naruto sighed before looking at a cart that was parked in the middle of the road. Seriously, they could at least try something different than this. I mean, a cart blocking the road. That is a clear sign of trouble. Some people aren't that bright or just don't think people are smart enough to see through stupid, I guess. Naruto and his friend arrived at the cart where a group of bandits and a rogue shinobi suddenly came out. They quickly surrounded the duo and laughed at their success. Man, that was easy. Yet dumbasses fell into our trap. A shinobi walked to the front. Naruto's eyes widened. No fucking way. His friend raised an eyebrow. Do you know him? He whispered. Sadly, thought he was still in jail though. It was Mizuki. He was standing there, proud as can be, and seemed to be smiling at the 2 of them. Well, it would seem our genius trap worked on you too. So here is the rub. He reached behind him and pulled out a giant shuriken. You 2 hand over everything you have and we might let you leave with your lives. Why do you think we have anything of value? His friend was more annoyed about the situation. Don't fuck with me, kid. He pointed at his clothes. Only someone from a rich family background wears clothes like that. Meaning you must come from a very rich family or are independently wealthy. The man looked at Naruto. Is that true? Not sure. Honestly, your clothes are pretty fancy, but I'm just surprised he picked you out first. Naruto turned to the man. After all, I figured he at least wanted to greet a former student. Huh? Mizuki looked at the blonde kid in front of him. He looked about 15, his hair was familiar, and... What the hell? Naruto. The group raised an eyebrow and Naruto smirked. Hey Mizuki, been a while. Thought you were in jail. Mizuki stared at the kid in front of him, before breaking out in a wild cackle. Oh man, the fates must be loving me right now. In front of me is the little dipshit that managed to get the drop on me and send me to that fucking prison. Oh, this is swell. Now I get to take my revenge and get filthy rich at the same time. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Really? I guess some people just don't change, but I have to ask, how did you get out? Last I checked, committing treason is punishable by death, but you got commuted due to the old man. Impressive, yeah. Well, if you must know, one of the civilian council members heard my tragic story and commuted my sentence. However, when he did, I just took off and left the village as a whole. Since then I've been robbing everyone that dared to cross this road and prayed I would get my revenge, and here you are. First I'll kill you and then I'm going to find that bastard Iruka and kill him. He gained a sinister smile. What do you think, Naruto? Me killing oh so special Iruka? Naruto stared. Was this meant to rile him up? Was this all he thought it would take to do so? Man, he wasn't sure what to make of him. Is that it? Naruto picked his ear. Don't make me laugh. First of all, you couldn't get close to Iruka since he is still in the village and they have been on high alert since the invasion. Second, successful raiding. Yeah right, I can tell just from the shitty gear and the way that your friends are dressed, you haven't had that much success. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 raids, but if someone survived or people start disappearing on this road too often, then someone is bound to notice. This would lead to people to stop coming down this road, wouldn't it? He sighed. Man, you're dumber than I expected. But then again, you duped me as a rookie, so I can't say you're the dumbest person I have met. Naruto narrowed his eyes. But that doesn't change this situation, as you threatened us, and I think it is high time someone sends you to the next life. Mizuki laughed before pointing. You guys take care of the black hair guy. The blonde brat is mine. The men roared and rushed to the black hair kid. He sighed. Make this quick, Naruto. I would like to get back on the trail. Naruto waved his hand. Don't worry, this will be fast. Yeah, for me. Mizuki flung his shuriken at Naruto. The weapon was spinning rapidly and he just stared, paralyzed with fear. No wonder you were a failure. Too bad that shitty old bastard didn't realize it himself. Naruto grunted. He took one big sidestep from the weapon, put his arm through the center of the blade, and then reversed its momentum, burying it in the earth. Nice try. TCH, lucky brat. He grabbed a kunai from his bag and threw it at Naruto. He just sidestepped. Is that all you can do, Mizuki? Throw weapons? No wonder you were a failure of a teacher. I mean, even Iruka could fight better than you. But you just got lucky in the midst of the fight. He growled. You shitty brat. He rushed at Naruto and engaged in hand-to-hand. He threw a right hook and Naruto just swatted it to the side. A left soon followed, the same result. The pattern repeated with his punches, and Naruto knocked away one of his roundhouses. Well, this is boring. I didn't think the gap between us would get this wide. But then again, you were always lazy. Naruto slammed his fist down on Mizuki's right wrist, making him scream from the pain. Shut up, please. Naruto slammed his open palm into his chin, sending him flying backwards a few feet. You're disturbing the peace. Mizuki quickly dashed away from him and saw that his wrist was discolored and he couldn't make any movements with his fingers. You little fuck. Sigh, can you actually come up with a better insult? Naruto stared. I guess it is time to end this though. Hate to keep my friend waiting. Mizuki frowned and his eyes widened when he turned slightly to see the young man standing in the midst of a puddle of blood and body parts. WWW, what the fuck? Naruto performed a single hand sign and dashed at Mizuki, cutting through his neck and appearing behind him. I did tell you to quiet down. Naruto sighed. So stupid, you just wasted my time and your life, dumb bastard. Mizuki's head rolled off his shoulders and soon blood exploded out of the now opened wound. Naruto stood there with boredom in his eyes. Well, that is one less annoyance in this world, I guess. Indeed, but I did see something on Mizuki, as you called him. The man approached the body and picked something off his corpse. Strange, it has a symbol I'm not familiar with and it seems to be locked by the looks of it. Naruto walked over and examined it closely. By the looks of it, this is a summoning contract of some sorts. Strange, I thought it would be bigger, but that might not be the case with all summons. Naruto handed it back to him. Why don't you try summoning whatever this is and see how they react? He frowned. Are you sure that is a good idea? Tell you what, we can summon a toad and have them here to negotiate if things get hairy. Naruto smirked. But then again, I never took you for a chicken. Maybe it is a chicken contract or something. Something that would suit you. He glared. Fine, I'll summon them. But be prepared. Opening the contract, he went through the hand signs after Naruto instructed him on it and soon slammed his hand on the ground with his dark chakra. Wait, can he summon with dark chakra? Summons will answer the call of chakra, no matter the alignment, so he is good. Smoke exploded and both of them stood there until it cleared. Naruto was the most surprised at a young girl with wings standing there. She seemed to be wearing a gothic dress, with her dark red eyes staring back at them. Hey, didn't know you were into loli. This made his friend gain a tick mark. Shut up. Naruto laughed and held his hands up. It would seem I have been summoned. The girl stared at the boys before her. Which of you was it? Naruto waved his hands and pointed at his friend. She looked him over while walking around slowly. You do seem to be strong enough, but I wonder, can you handle the pressure? Pressure? Yes. You, my child, have stumbled onto the contract of the flies. I am their Queen Amelia. Do well to remember, as failure to do so might mean your death. Naruto whistled. Whoa, I didn't know there was a fly contract out in the world. Yes, she nodded. We are overlooked as inferior to the other contracts around, even though we have the most unique skill sets that would benefit shinobi more than others. Plus, we also have the ability to shift our form unlike the others. Naruto shrugged. Now then, she turned back to the man. You have summoned me and wish to become our contractor. Yes, I would be honored to be your contractor. As you see, I don't really need powerful partners of massive size or intimidating presence. I would prefer to align myself with someone who would improve me in the areas I lack. The girl stared. You are a strange one. Most are seeking power and abilities. Once most learn about our hidden arts and our senjutsu skills, they come crawling to us begging for our power. But you are different. You didn't seek me out for those, but you sought me out as someone to help make you strong in the areas you are weak. She smiled faintly. How intriguing. I think you might be an interesting summoner. Indeed. Yes, I approve. Welcome to our clan. However, you must sign your name in blood so that we may stay allied. The man frowned. I have no name. She rubbed her chin. Very well. Since you are now our summoner, I think it is only fair that I bestow you the name of our previous lord. Beelzebub, Lord of the Flies. Naruto smiled. Sounds ominous and intimidating while having a somewhat regal feel. I like it. I do as well. He bowed his head to her. Rest assured, I shall do all I can to spread the greatness of the flies. She smiled more. I know you will. After all, there is a pact that we must complete, but that will come in time. For now, sign your name and we shall consider our contract completed. Beelzebub cut his thumb and wrote down his name on the contract, with him putting his thumbprint on the edge. Henceforth you are now Beelzebub. Wear the name with pride and don't disgrace it, otherwise. She flared her chakra. The entire area shook and Naruto gulped at the pressure she was creating. Then she vanished. Naruto picked up the contract and handed it to his new friend, Beelzebub. Well, Beelzebub, shall we continue on our journey? Indeed. But Naruto, may I ask you something? Sure. He smiled. I know it has been a short time, but I feel a form of kinship with you. I can't explain it since I never had anything remotely close to it growing up. But I feel something there and I wanted to ask, would you mind if I call you brother instead? Naruto's eyes widened and he swore he saw Sasuke standing there for a second. But he shook his head. Do what you want, man. But if we are brothers, you're the older brother, meaning when I get in trouble you have to take responsibility for the mess. He walked to the cart blocking their way. After examining it and seeing it was empty, Naruto did a single hand sign and puffed out his cheeks before releasing a torrent of flames, making the cart explode. Beelzebub chuckled. Whatever you say, just be ready to be punished for causing me trouble. Both laughed and continued down the road in silence, now as brothers. Naruto and Beelzebub both settled into a calm walk to the nearest town, one that Naruto was somewhat familiar with given that he was here to find Tsunade a while back. Just being here dredged up bad memories and he wasn't too interested in revisiting them. But they were in a bit of a spot. They had little to no money. They were both broke, with Beelzebub never having any on him during his travels, while Naruto had some given to him by the people of Wave. But they needed more, and plus, they needed some new clothes for Naruto. While he appreciated the clothes that Tezuna's family gave him of their former family member, he did want to change up his style a bit. Okay, so the best thing we can do in this town is gamble. Beelzebub just raised an eyebrow. Naruto, is there something you're not telling me? Come again. Is there an addiction that we need to find a meeting for? What? No. This is literally the gambling capital of the elemental nations. Suckers from all over come here to gamble their life savings away. But why are we gambling? Because for some reason ever since I was a kid I have had insane luck when it comes to games like this. So if we test it a bit, maybe things will go our way. Beelzebub rolled his eyes. Naruto, you know the games are rigged, right? Yeah, but never hurts to try. The man sighed and followed his friend into one of the casinos. This is going to end badly. 3 hours later. I can't believe that worked. I know, right? The owner was downright pissed. Yeah, didn't know I would be good at it too once I understood the rules. Yep, now we have cash to blow. Within the first hour, Naruto and Beelzebub attracted a crowd due to the length of their game. On top of that, they dominated every game they took part in to the point that the owner finally asked them to leave while paying them extra not to come back. They were fine with it as they had more than enough for travel expenses, change of clothes, and to find a room, which is their first stop, the clothing shops. Naruto had gone through half a dozen stores until finally finding one that he liked that was selling the type of clothes he was interested in. Before he was fine with the jumpsuit, but he did have to admit it was like putting a target on his back. So, he traded away that old concept and now is wearing something more akin to a monk. It was an elbow-length monk robe that had light design allowing free-flowing movement, and ended with his ankles for the pants. He had on sleeveless gi top underneath the robes and had on the pants as mentioned along with wearing now slip-on shoes rather than sandals. Got to say white and black are good color scheme. Beelzebub nodded. It suits you, little brother. Naruto smirked. Then let me get at least 3 or 4 of these and then we can head to the hotel. Maybe there is a card table we can drop in on. He shook his head. Careful, luck might turn against you if you're not careful. Naruto laughed. She already did remember the prison. Yeah. He frowned. By the way, I had to ask, do you ever want to see your old village? I mean, most people in your position would seek revenge. I had thought about it. He fitted his robes and paid at the register. But then I thought about it and realized why I should bother. I mean, it warrants that they were worth the effort to get mad at and come after. For me, I don't know, after spending time in Wave, training with Sukuna, and meeting you, I guess I haven't really thought about it much. To me, I saw what revenge can make someone do and I just said, no thanks, I'll pass on that one. I see. Personally, I think I just want to travel, learn, evolve, and find my own place in the world, you know. Yeah, that makes sense. Come on, let's find a hotel and then later we can try and find someone that knows where this land of darkness is, or at least what is called now. Walking through town, the brothers arrived at a nice hotel and booked a room for the both of them for the night. They weren't sure they were going to stick around longer than that since they both sensed someone was following them through town. Naruto had to guess it was probably people hired by the owner of the casino wanting to get his money back. Angry, someone actually managed to pull one over him and get so much cash that it literally cut into their profit margin. But he didn't care as the person he sensed wasn't any stronger than a normal person or a bandit at least. Meaning with no more than basic reserves, they probably aren't that great of a threat. But then again, one should never underestimate, so they set up a seal on their door to prevent people from coming in without their permission. They exited the room and walked down to the lobby where they saw several well-traveled individuals sitting around a table and playing cards. Another table had some women just drinking and laughing. The guy that was following tried to sneak behind them and head up to their room without being noticed. Hey, you want to deal with him or do you want me to do it? Beelzebub hummed. Why don't you? I don't think I can hold back, and plus I think it'd be better I talk to the travelers. Given my dress sense, they might think I'm a snot-nosed noble in over his head. Naruto shrugged before handing him some cash out of his sleeve. Play carefully. Will do. Naruto turned on his heels and walked back up the stairs and back to his room. At the door he saw the man growling. Why isn't this stupid key working? He was hissing. He couldn't get into the room. His boss had told him that these two kids managed to take a shit ton of money from the casino, and he wanted it back, telling him to follow them and rob them when they were out of the room, and if he can't find the money, to steal whatever he could from them so he can get reimbursed for his losses. While this is considered illegal, his boss gave the order so he had to obey. But for some reason the damn door wouldn't open. You know, we knew you were following us since we left the casino. The man's eyes widened and saw the blonde-haired kid leaning against a wall with his arms crossed. Personally, this is just childish. I mean, we won that money fair and square and now he wants you to steal our money just so he can feel like a king. Naruto shook his head. How shameful, but then again this is the town of vices, so I shouldn't be too surprised. Shit, this kid knew who he was and who he was working for. Acting on instinct, he pulled out a knife and charged the kid. Naruto sighed. Clueless, Naruto uncrossed his arms, turned to the man, and within a flash the move was made. He slapped the knife down and the weapon rattled on the ground. He hit him in the throat and grabbed the back of his head and threw him into the floor. His knee was pressed into his neck and he was left barely breathing on the ground. Alright, I know your boss and I know why you're here, but maybe if you answer a question for me, maybe just maybe, I won't snap your fucking neck. The man was sweating. His boss got him into a world of trouble. Who would have guessed these kids were some kind of trained warriors? In fact, he was quite sure they were just rich kids coming to live it up, but that was not the case. Looking up, he saw the look in the blonde's eyes and they were cold. He would really kill him if he doesn't answer. WWW, what do you want to know? Naruto smiled. Now see, we can all be civilized unlike that boss of yours, right? He grunted but soon felt the pressure lessen on his neck. I'm looking for the land of darkness, or what it is called now. Tell me where I can find it and I will let you leave with your life and the chance to start over elsewhere. Naruto smiled. I can see it in your eyes. You thought, what if I could get my knife back or I sweep this kid? Or wait until he drops his guard because after all he is a stupid kid, right? Well, if you try that. Naruto pushed his knee down on his neck making him gag. Do you get the picture? He nodded. Good, now answer. The land of darkness that you're looking for. I heard about it a while back but it is called the land of hot springs now. Naruto's eyes widened and he felt Sukuna go stiff. I see. Well then thank you for the information. Naruto pulled his knee off and grabbed the back of his jacket. Picking him up, he put him back on his feet and dusted him off. Grabbing the chin he brought his head next to his mouth. Now leave and if I ever see you again I will make sure your death is a slow one. No more motivation was needed. The man fled, faster than he ever seen and he was sure that he saw the man pee himself. Small streams on the ground were evident. My home, a land once heralded for studies in the dark chakra and one of the havens for those that would become practitioners of the dark styles and even the legendary weapons of this world. It has been reduced to a public resort of hot springs. Ironic, no, but at least we have a destination in mind once we are done in this town. Oh, yeah, I mean I don't think that little boss man is going to let us leave. Not without a big fight or trumped up charges. So if that is the case I think it is best we deal with the situation before we leave. It would be better safe than sorry. Who knows, the man might send mercenaries or even rogues to kill the both of you after this little stunt. Plus if you were to give out your general description there is no telling how the other villages would react to this news. True, and that is one more reason to end this mess before we leave. Walking down the stairs he entered the lobby and sweat dropped. At the table Beelzebub was surrounded by the women from before, all flirting with him. Each one asking him to buy drinks and have some special time with them. Probably due to the fact that everyone at the table was out of chips and cash, and he was sitting there with all of it. Naruto rolled his eyes. Hey bro. Beelzebub turned. Yeah, let's go, there is something we have to take care of before we leave. Right? Want to rest though? Nah, we can do that once we are done. The man shrugged before sealing away all the money and trading his chips for cash. There he sealed them away, excused himself from the women, and they walked out the door. So where we heading? Back to the casino. Oh, Naruto glared. I think we need to talk to this owner and remind him what happens when he tries to wrong the wrong people. Beelzebub smiled. Yes, I think we do. Casino. Where the hell is he? Not sure, boss. The woman looked at her clipboard. From my understanding those two boys went into some nearby hotel from the last report we got. He followed in after them but he came back out after 5 minutes. Then he should have been back here now. I don't know why he isn't, sir. Then what good are you? Get out of my sight. The woman nodded before walking out of the office, never letting him see her rolling eyes. Damn it, those little shits are making a fool out of me. I'll show them no one does this to me and gets away from me. He smirked. Maybe it is time to call in that mercenary band and have them track down these two brats. I think one of them only works for money anyway, so it should work. He started laughing to himself. Taisho Megura. He was the owner of this casino. He was considered one of the most powerful people in town and someone you don't cross. He had took the place after his previous boss had a bit of an accident when falling off the roof of the building. No one questioned it as he was a bit of a drinker and tended to wander around drunk all the time. But doing this wasn't good for the reputation for their business, so he had to go. Did Taisho want to do it? No, but he knew his old boss would never give up his position and the money. Taisho knew that eventually someone is going to hit a lucky streak and just win big in an instant. But most of those streaks only last from one lucky moment or one lucky placing of the chips, roll of the dice, etc. This was different. Those kids, he didn't know how they did it, but both of them were raking up money everywhere. No matter what they played, they seemed to win big and walk away from the table with a ton of cash. Seeing this, he tried to do damage control by paying them to leave the casino floor but offered them a room at the casino. Either to spend all their money after making sure to cheat more efficiently or to have them robbed while they were sleeping in their rooms. But those damn brats took off and spent the money on clothes and a hotel room at a less ritzy place than his own. That's why he sent that fucking collector to follow and get his money back. But he was late. He didn't know why, but he was going to string him up for this. Soon a knock was heard and he sighed. What is it, Tai? I'm busy. There was silence. Tai, if this is a joke, I'll have you know, I'll fire you for this. Nothing. God damn it, come in and explain yourself. The door didn't budge. There was nothing on the other side of the door. No noise, no nothing. Okay, that is it, bitch. I'm going to give you to those men downstairs. You might be good as a secretary, but you tested your luck one too many times. He got out from behind his desk and walked to the door. There he grabbed onto the handle of the door and swung it open. A foot met his chest, sending him flying backwards into his desk. He coughed up spit and blood and looked up. Who the fuck? Well, now isn't this a surprise? His eyes widened. What the fuck were they doing here? Naruto walked into the office. He looked around the room and noticed how ritzy the room was made. Damn, and I thought the hotel was nice. This place looks like a fancy ass penthouse. Yeah. His brother walked in with him and just sighed, kinda a waste. It sure is. Naruto turned to the man on the ground. You know, it is weird. What? Every time I come across a money grubber, they all seem to be short. I wonder if that is supposed to be a pattern or say something about what is it? Short man complex. Yeah, I think that is right, and you might be onto something. He can't be more than 5 feet. Yeah, he might only be slightly taller than Gojo. Naruto shrugged, but that isn't important. Naruto walked over to the man, making him scramble to get behind his desk. Security. He slammed his hand on the monitor on his table. Get your lazy asses up here, we have intruders. Naruto sighed. You shouldn't bother, we already talked to them. Beelzebub rolled his shoulder. Talk, right? That is all we did. Naruto sighed. Details, details. The man paled. There is no way. Most of them were war veterans from many of the nearby. Yeah, but they didn't expect 2 punk kids to have chakra and know how to use it better than most adults and not hesitate on the kill strike. Naruto smiled. It is common sense, really. The man paled. What did you do to my secretary? Naruto raised an eyebrow and turned to his brother. I think he meant that girl we saw on the way up. Right? Naruto smiled. She actually was the one that showed us to your office. Real sweet of her. Said something about not wanting to deal with your sweaty ass anymore and that we should do as we like. TT the bitch after everything I have given her. Naruto shrugged again. Not my problem. Personally can't blame her. You have all of this, he waved his hand around, and you're hoarding it for yourself. Well, anyone would be jealous and want you out of the picture in the hopes of claiming it for themselves. You brats won't get away with this. He pointed at them and smirked, ignoring the fact that Naruto's robe had a small bit of blood on the sleeves while Beelzebub had blood on his face. Killing me will only lead to your own demise. I have friends everywhere that will hunt you both down and kill you on the spot. Maybe you heard of a man that rules Snow Country. Dodo. Yeah, he's dead, killed him a while back. Huh? His smirk returned. Whatever, there is also Gojo my older. Wait, your family to him. Whoa, the irony of this world is surprising. Well, he is dead too, killed by a pissed off rogue shinobi he tried to double cross. And no way, you're lying. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why this is a surprise. He has been dead for more than a year, I think. Naruto rubbed the back of his head. Plus, what would I get for lying to someone that is about to die? You can't kill me. Naruto smiled. You see, that is where you are wrong. I don't mind killing people now. He looked out the window to the side, showing the village. In fact, I have come to respect the art of war and the means to kill to protect oneself. Will it always be seen as such? Probably not, but to me that doesn't matter. As long as I have a reason to keep moving forward and can justify to myself why I did it, that is all that matters. But I'm no saint, but I'm no sociopath. I'm just a kid that is tired of the world fucking with him and thinking they can walk all over him. He turned to the man. Now then, shall we finish this mess? No. He reached for something under his desk. Naruto swiped his hand upward, creating a wind slash that cut the desk in half, revealing him holding an explosive seal in his hand. But it now laid on the ground with his severed arm. Fuck, that hurt, you little fuck. I'm bleeding. He looked up and tears were coming out of his eyes. Someone save me. Naruto rolled his eyes. Typical. Naruto did 2 hand signs before breathing in and breathing out. There a large torrent of flames exploded from his mouth, and soon the man was engulfed in the flames, and so was most of the room. Well, that was productive. Naruto turned from the burning room and the screaming man. Shall we go? Yeah, off to the land of hot springs. Naruto smiled. That's still funny. Reports would go out about the large fire that broke out at the casino that night. The fire was seen from all across the village. No one knew who did it or why, as no one saw anyone going in there or walking out of that floor that was suspicious. But the guards were found dead and the owner was found burnt alive to the point that he wouldn't be identifiable if not for his short stature. And the room. Tai quickly became the new owner after the murder of her boss and ordered reconstruction to happen in the office and to salvage their losses from the room. From there, she quickly ordered all investigations into the fire to stop, as there was no point. There was no evidence and she didn't want to focus on that matter more than she had to. Plus, she didn't want those 2 boys coming back. She owed them, so might as well play nice. She would never see them again, but she knew Where they walked, blood and fire would rain from the heavens. Word would spread through the nations of the murder, and some people even wondered who did it and had the capacity to do something so cold and cruel. It would be a question that would go unanswered for a long time. Naruto and Beelzebub arrived in the hot spring village without incident. They had to move quickly due to what happened in the gambling town, but thankfully no bounties were issued for either of them. They were safe, but Naruto hesitated to trust this information to stay on the down low given his own face is easy to recognize. If not for the blonde hair and blue eyes, the whisker marks on his face were easy to distinguish. So, arriving in the country was a quick affair. Geez, I'm tired. Naruto sighed. I think we should hit one of the springs and get some food. Beelzebub hummed. I think that would be a good idea. Plus we need to take our time to do research to see if we can find these ruins. Well, how about that place? Naruto pointed to one of the businesses. That one works. Both walked over to the business and got booked. From there, the two of them got undressed with Naruto making sure his clothes are folded neatly before wrapping a towel around himself. Opening the door, Naruto narrowed his eyes. Someone is here and they are strong. Beelzebub frowned. He could sense the raw density of the chakra. From what he could gather, this person was the exact opposite of him. They had nothing but light chakra flowing through their entire body, so much that he wasn't sure there was an ounce of dark chakra anywhere. Having the steam clear, they saw a man with white hair sitting in the hot springs. He had no towel around his waist and was relaxing in the water. He had a barrel in front of him, but instead of cleaning products, it was full of food. Just junk food, not a single healthy thing inside of that bucket. Candy, chips, you name it. The man in question was just chewing on a lollipop in his mouth, and he turned his head. Hey, he smiled. Come on, the hot spring is great. Naruto deadpanned. Was I like this? He thought about how he had a cheery deposition and seemed to be oblivious of how other people saw him. Geez, maybe I owe some people an apology. Thanks. Naruto walked over to the stool and started rinsing and cleaning himself. We'll join in a minute. Beelzebub nodded and cleaned himself. While they were scrubbing, they saw the man turn around and lean on his arms. He had the lollipop rolling in his mouth and seemed to be looking at them with curiosity. Naruto noticed his eyes seemed to almost glow. Bright blue eyes. They shined with power. Naruto could just feel the chakra coming off his body. He had a ripped body showing he was well trained, and his long white hair was tied up in a bun. He had to admit the guy was quite interesting in terms of look, especially with a small golden dot in the center of his forehead. So, he smiled. Who are you guys? Naruto frowned. Kinda rude not to introduce yourself before asking us for our name. The man laughed. Man, you're a stiff. Naruto gained a tick mark. No, it is a courtesy. But if you want to be an ass, fine, we can do that too. Beelzebub sighed. Calm down, idiot. He is just trying to get under your skin. Naruto turned. I know that, damn it. Then calm down. Naruto grunted before finishing his cleanup process before walking over to the hot spring and settling in. His brother quickly joined him, and both were situated near the strange man who was just looking at them, his smile never leaving his face. Well, Naruto sighed. He was really annoying. Name's Naruto and this is my brother Beelzebub. Nice to meet you guys. You can call me Buddha. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Yeah, right, he was pulling his leg. Buddha? Dude, you can't claim the title of a pantheon. Actually, I can. You see, I have achieved enlightenment. He smiled. From this, I acquired the title of Buddha, thus it is my name. Naruto rolled his eyes. Sure, so are you saying that you're this same god? He shook his head. Buddha wasn't a god, he gained enlightenment, not godhood. His ideals and beliefs are passed on to all of his followers. However, if you want me to be honest, I believe I have my own path to follow in this world. If that is the case, then I shall walk it. He then took a bite out of his lollipop and then pulled out a bag of chips from his bucket. So, why are you guys here in Hot Spring? Naruto shrugged. History citing. Oh, yeah, my brother and I are interested in history that predates the shinobi nations and can tell us how some lands came to be. We heard a rumor or two about ruins in Hot Springs, so we came to investigate them. I see. He nodded his head. I too am a lover of knowledge and history. I too have explored this entire nation due to the rumors that I heard back at the temple, that this used to be the land of evil and corruption. But I don't sense that. I think there is more to the story than what is written. True. Naruto looked at him. History is written by the victor after all. Most forget Uzu even existed. This was a piece of history he learned in prison and from the toads on the road. The fact there was an entire nation that was built by the Uzumaki clan and it took multiple nations to take them down. That was more than enough for him to believe his clan was probably among the strongest. But for some reason, Sukuna never talked about the issue, stating that his time with the sage and his children has always annoyed him. Nothing in particular other than the children tried to find their own paths and ideals, but their father stuck his nose into it. Just the idea that he sealed him still pissed him off. Actually, he took a bite from his bag of chips. Now that I think about it, if you guys are so interested in history, I can show you something really interesting. He smiled. I don't think you would find this information in any history book. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Oh, yep. He got out of the spring. Meet me tomorrow on the outskirts of town. I promise this will be worth it. The man grabbed his barrel and walked out of the hot spring with Naruto frowning. Sukuna, what was that? Hard to say. I can tell he is being honest with his intentions, but you felt his chakra right. Yet it was different than anyone I have seen before. That is pure light chakra mastered to the point that one achieves a sense of enlightenment. It is incredibly difficult to do. Even back then, not even the sage could do this. Wait, I thought enlightenment is only achievable with both chakras. I said it is a form of it, not that it is the true path. In time you'll understand. From this, the two brothers enjoyed the hot springs, checked into a hotel room, and rested for the night. Next day, Naruto and Beelzebub arrived at the village's main entrance and saw Buddha standing there. He was eating a variety of snacks with him sporting a bored expression. The man literally was eating a whole roll of chocolate bars, not even hesitating to gobble them down. After he finished the chocolate, he moved on to a bag of chips he was carrying with him, and Naruto read the flavor. Banana cream and onion. That just sounded gross. Oh, Buddha smiled. You guys came? Welcome on our trip begins. Naruto rolled his eyes and Beelzebub just kept a blank expression. The three men started down the path, getting further away from the village, and making it down the road. There they started following some faded roads leading them further up the hills of the surrounding region. So, Buddha turned his head while making his empty bag disappear while pulling out a lollipop. What are you guys doing out here? Huh? Buddha rolled the lollipop in his mouth. I mean, you guys are here for more than just some ancient studies of the previous era. So, what is the real reason you are both out here? There must be something in particular you are looking for. He cleaned his ear with his free hand. I don't really care what it is, but I know there is something out here that you guys are looking for. Naruto narrowed his eyes. How did you come to that conclusion? Simple, it was the flow of your chakra. He smiled. One of you has a steady flow of nothing but dark chakra in their body, while the other has a small amount of dark chakra, but it is hardly developed. But their light chakra is incredibly strong, making them almost shine like a beacon. While your words were able to hide your intentions of what you are looking for, your chakra can't lie. Naruto sighed. You're annoying, but good job you ascertained that we are not actually here just for the ruins. No point in hiding it when he can see the truth. I know, which is why I wanted to bring you guys out here. I think I know what you're looking for, and if I'm honest, I have already been there. Naruto raised an eyebrow. That was a bold claim even for someone as strong as this guy. From Sukuna, the place they are looking for is hidden first of all, and the security measures he put into place were meant to keep everyone out. Someone on the sage level couldn't break the seal, so how would this guy do it? Bold claim. Not a claim, it is a fact and a reality. For I'm Buddha and I dare not speak falsehoods. Naruto rolled his eyes. Alright then, lead the way to our destination. You doubt me, I see it, but trust me, you will believe when you see it. Beelzebub frowned. You said earlier that you can sense the dark chakra inside of me. Yep, honestly I'm surprised that something hasn't happened to you yet. He gripped his shoulder. What if I told you something did? Buddha shrugged. Nothing really, but I figured something must have happened because light chakra is about mental strength, whereas dark chakra connects more to your emotions. He rubbed the back of his head. What I learned in the temple, dark chakra users tend to be more easily influenced by their chakra, similar to those tailed beast containers. When the chakra runs wild, it is like their minds become cloudy, and they lose all sense of reality in any given situation. He tilted his head. Come to think of, I know that the tailed beasts seem to be more dark chakra in origin than light. Naruto shook his head. Dark chakra. He doubted it, since the influence of the fox only made him more aggressive, but when he focused, he could control the power to a degree, meaning that it was more aligned to light chakra due to the fact it takes mental strength to control it over emotions. Anywho, Buddha yawned before chewing on another lollipop. Dark chakra is supposedly evil. He put quotes up. By the beliefs of the temple. But I never saw that. Like senjutsu, manipulation of nature, it is something as common as breathing. One can't exist without the other if one is to live a true path of enlightenment. He sighed. Sadly, I have no way to gain dark chakra myself, so I think I have achieved the path I wanted to follow, which is giving me greater insight into the world and the people around me. He laughed. How ironic is it? Turning to the two brothers, one of you is completely dark chakra. I'm completely light chakra, and the other is a mix of the two. Seems like the fates wanted us to meet. Naruto laughed a bit. He couldn't deny that. While he didn't believe fate controlled everything he did, he thought that something was pulling him together with the people around him. Meeting his brother was a great sign of someone who could travel and be with him through the hardships. While Buddha, annoying as can be, did seem to bring an energy that was missing from their group and something that he was missing after his time in prison. Maybe there was something akin to this fate stuff that Neji was always spouting on about. He didn't think he couldn't fight what was in front of him or change how the world sees him. Far from it. But he did believe that the world rewards him for his own decisions. Sukuna was vague on the concept, but the one thing he did note is, nature is absolute. Naruto wanted more context, but he states it isn't something he has to worry about yet. Maybe, Naruto sighed, but I wanted to get back to a previous topic. You mentioned dark chakra and there are users out there, right? As far as I can tell, almost no one practices dark chakra, so how would one go about finding information? Buddha shrugged. As far as I can tell, there is a large study in Demon Country. Apparently there are plenty of people there that know of it. Then there is the occasional scroll or ancient tablet that can be found worldwide, detailing dark chakra in the earliest ages. Some have transcended mortal flesh and basically become entities themselves or things closer to demons. He sighed. Honestly, it is hard to say where exactly the largest concentration of this stuff is, but I do know that those that study it are not adept. Interesting. Beelzebub was curious about this. If there are more users out there, was his situation not that unique then? Yep, though I can sense you dark chakra is not as erratic as some of the users I have encountered in the past. It is thanks to my little brother. He smiled. Contrary to my look, I'm about 16 while he is about 15. Naruto glared. You had to tell him our ages. It is important that people don't think I'm some guy in his 20s. Yeah, I know that feeling. Buddha sighed. I mean, I'm only 20 and people think I'm in my 30s and having a midlife crisis. Naruto sighed. He was the youngest still. Man, that sucks. Anyway, he continued walking. I heard rumors of some of the people that developed dark chakra in the past. Apparently some of them either become more distinct in their evil behavior or in some cases, they can become even downright monsters. Like literally transforming before your eyes kind of thing. He rubbed his chin. Come to think of it, the temple did mention something about someone ages ago studying dark chakra and after death their spirit lingers as something akin to a god. But it is more about carnage if I'm being honest, so more of a dark spirit. Naruto raised an eyebrow. That is interesting. They must have had a powerful spirit to pull something like this off. But Sukuna did say that dark chakra affects people differently. So in short, some become literal monsters while others just become more monsters in the sense of their actions. Yep, Buddha sighed. The temple has made it a mission to destroy any record of dark chakra as it was some kind of divine revelation during the time of the Sage of Six Paths. Naruto shook his head. Yeah, and at the same time this guy made the biju and handed out chakra to everyone without considering the consequences of his actions. True. He turned to Naruto while crunching on his lollipop. If this is true, does this mean you hold some kind of disdain for the sage? I mean, it sounds like you are fully against him. Let's just say I had someone reveal more of the true history of this world, and the parts that were erased make him look pretty bad. Buddha shrugged before they arrived at a nearby cave outlet far away from the village and hidden behind a valley of trees. Here we are. He waved his arm to the cave. The secret location I was telling you about. Sukuna, is this? Yes, this is the location for the machine. I'm surprised he found it. I hid it so only select people could find it, let alone get inside. Buddha. Yes? How did you find this place? Oh, Buddha tilted his head in confusion. I don't know, honestly. Don't know. Beelzebub was confused now. How can you not know how you found something like this? Well, he sighed. If I'm being honest, I was just wandering around outside the village a few years ago, not too long after I left the temple, and kinda stumbled upon this place. The seal on it was top-notch, but thanks to a mixture of light chakra and some dumb luck, I managed to open the place up. But after I saw what was inside, I just decided to seal it back up with my own chakra this time. In a method that is known only to the monks. He puffed out his chest. Quite impressive, no? Naruto nodded. Yeah, the place has been sealed since the age of the Six Paths and also was a sacred site that even fewer ever gleamed at. True, smiling. So, you guys ready to head inside? Naruto and Beelzebub nodded. Buddha turned to the cave and put his hand on the side of the wall. And after some chakra glowed on his hand, they saw an unusual seal appear around the cave entrance. It was intricately designed and soon it vanished. Walking through the cave, the two brothers followed. There they saw the place was full of nothing but dust and rocks, and any signs that there might have been torches didn't exist. From what he could see, there was nothing there other than dust of the past. Walking down the trail in the cave, they eventually arrived at another entrance, but this one was different. It was inside a giant circular room and a giant metal door with some oddly designed creatures on the front of the door. It was divided into 6 squares vertically. Each design was unique but had a matching one on the opposite side. Interesting. Naruto put his hand on the door, so these must have been things that existed before our time or something that had existed but moved on. Or something related to a lost culture. Naruto put his hand on the door and frowned. Who were they? That is the thing Naruto could wrap his head around. Who were these figures that created this place? It was buried so that only those fully aware of it would come here. Plus, creating chakra-based weapons. Did this mean chakra did exist before the age of the 6 paths? Or was there some other kind of energy that was similar to chakra there? He was curious. Alright, Buddha put his hand on the door and they saw it glow. Welcome to the room of what I like to call the machine. Naruto was agape while Beelzebub just had his eyes widened. The room was so, it was hard to describe. In the center of the room was a large machine with a golden circle that seemed to have lines streaming away from the center. All across the door of the machine, the circle was situated on a singular pillar sitting in the middle of the room. The room seemed to radiate power and a silent humming could be felt the minute they stepped into the room, making them feel the pulsing sensation rushing through their body. On top of that, they could feel just the power that was flowing. There were small tubes layering the wall, the floor was cold and metallic, and it seemed the entire room had no form of natural lighting but it was all visible. What the hell? Naruto slowly walked up to the machine with the other two following behind him closely. This is it. The machine that we came to see. The same one that created the 7 deadly mist blades and other sacred items. Naruto touched the front of the machine and it hummed. How intriguing. Yep, Buddha smiled before holding his hand out and showing off a small seal on his palm. The hand glowed for a few seconds before an item appeared in his hand. He gripped the weapon by the shaft and slammed the butt of the item into the floor with a smile on his face. Meet my weapon. Naruto looked at the weapon in question, was surprised to see something so unusual. Yeah, that was the right word. It was a staff of sorts, but the item itself had a giant golden cylinder at the end of it with a spike on the end. From what he could tell, the weapon itself was covered in some odd form of kanji that he couldn't read clearly, due to it being faint and blending into the cylinder. Interesting. What is it called? 6 Realm Staff. I don't really control it that much. I let it decide for me what weapon I can use from time to time. But thanks to it, I haven't been in a situation that I can't win or would cause me a great amount of trouble. He smiled. Now then, time for you guys to get into the machine and get your own weapons. Naruto stared at Buddha and frowned. Why are you doing this? Suspicious of why I'm doing this? Well, I guess the simplest answer would be, I just want to. Thus I did it, nothing more and nothing less. Naruto stared at the man. Sukuna, he truly means it, I can tell. But in the end, trust is the least important thing right now. The machine. You need to get inside of the machine and find your weapon. Trust me, it will be worth it. Naruto rolled his eyes. Okay, so how does this work? We go one at a time or? Nope. Just walk into the machine and you both can get your weapons. He waved. Don't worry, I won't go anywhere, take your time. Naruto and Beelzebub shrugged before walking to the door. The door slid apart, allowing them access into a completely white room. They didn't see anything other than white and couldn't perceive anything beyond the white color. Walking into the machine, both heard the door shut and soon they were enveloped into a light. Buddha on the outside smiled. Good luck you two, now to take care of the troublemakers that are coming this way. Naruto saw the bright light appear before him. Nothing was visible to him anymore, but he did hear something in the distance. Come closer. Walking in the direction of the voice, he soon saw the light dim and he soon found himself dropping his hands. There in front of him was a sight he never thought he would see again. It was Konoha, the gate to the village. What in the? Calm down, it is an illusion. Really? It looks and feels. That's how the machine works. It will test you, see your mental strength, and if you are worthy. Stay strong. I can't communicate with you much due to the mock. Sukuna. Nothing. He could hear nothing and he frowned. Naruto. Turning his head, he saw Sakura standing there at the gate with Kakashi and Sasuke. Where were you? I was out and about. Sakura frowned. That's no good, you have to let your team know when you going out of the village. I mean, we are teammates, right? We are supposed to stick together. Naruto frowned. It was only for a bit. Sakura sighed while Sasuke snorted. Like always dope, always running off when we need you the most. Like you're one to talk. Sasuke raised an eyebrow while Kakashi smiled. Now children, no fighting. Come on, we are heading to the tower to report back to the Hawkage. Naruto rolled his eyes. Sure, let's go see the hag. Huh? Naruto turned to the confused expression on Kakashi's face. What, the hag is sitting there waiting for our report, isn't she? Naruto, I wouldn't call the Hawkage that. Naruto rolled his eyes. Sure. Naruto quickly dashed through the gate and walked through the tower at breakneck pace. The minute he saw the Hawkage's door, he kicked it open. Hey hag, what do you need? Hag. Naruto, I assure you I'm more of an old man. The voice made him freeze up. No, not him. Anyone but him. Sitting at the desk, it wasn't Tsunade. It was someone that made his eyes water and his heart ache. Old man. The Hokage smiled. Hello Naruto, how was your mission? Naruto felt his body frozen. He couldn't move, he couldn't speak. His body was just numb. There he was, in front of him again. The Hokage, the old man that was his only family in the entire world, the man that did his best for him. He was right there as if nothing had happened. No, this is an illusion. It is not real. Naruto. The Hokage walked out from behind his desk and frowned. Are you okay? This isn't real. The Hokage laughed. Sure it is, my boy. I'm looking at you right now. Naruto shook his head. No. He held his head. You're dead. I know you're dead. You died fighting Orochimaru. You died giving your life and soul for Konoha. Tears started falling down his face. But for what? What good did it do for you? The village spat on you, treated you like garbage after your death just by throwing your stuff out, not caring about the legacy you left behind. You were treated as an afterthought by the council. Everyone seemed to be just ready to move on. Naruto. No, you weren't able to see Konohamaru again. You didn't get to tell him how much you loved him. You didn't get the chance to see your wife again. You won't be able to. He sobbed. It doesn't matter how much I think about it, how much I wish it wasn't true, but you're gone. Dead. Naruto. He felt a soft hand on his head and he slowly looked up at the man smiling at him. Is that how you truly feel? That I wasted my life for the village? Naruto looked at him and he looked down while gripping the floor, making splinters appear. I do. I feel like you made a promise you couldn't keep. You tried to be a hero to people around you that didn't want you to be a hero. You fought for me more than anyone else and still you were overshadowed by the people that wanted to do me harm. You. His tears flowed down his face. You didn't deserve to die for a selfish place like this. Naruto. No, I refuse to believe that Konoha was worthy for dying for. What good has it been for me growing up? All alone, everyone treating me as a curse, almost killed as a child due to one child pranking me so badly. I can't stand it. Just thinking of how the village spat on your grave. Naruto. He put his hands on his shoulders and Naruto looked up to see the sad expression on the old man's face. Do you truly hate Konoha that much? Naruto looked down. Yes, I hate Konoha more than anything in the world. All they have ever done to me is lied and cheated me. I was treated as a pariah for something out of my control, and something that was forced on me. You tried your best, maybe made a lot of mistakes down the line, but you at least gave two shits. Everyone else I had to prove myself of being worthy of love and affection, and even then, it was all fake. Then if you had the chance, would you burn Konoha to the ground and massacre all your enemies? Naruto looked up and saw the frown on the man's face. No, I refuse to give them my attention. I refuse to validate their existence to me. Did I want to destroy the village after the blood prison? Yes, I did, but at the same time I realized it wouldn't do anything but continue a cycle. A cycle of vengeance and bloodshed, something that can't seem to be stopped no matter how hard we try. He wiped his eyes, standing up and looking at the Hokage, but I realized that the best way to get back at people is to just move on. Leave them in the past while I pursue the future. That is all I ever wanted in life. He smiled. But I guess there are some things that I can't leave behind no matter how hard I try. He cried, I miss you, old man. Naruto. He smiled, I miss you too, but I'm proud of the man that you are becoming and the life you have created for yourself. He then turned to face the village through the window. It is true that I made many mistakes in my life, but the one thing I'm glad I did is raise you. He smiled. While I wasn't as hands-on, I am happy that you took after me in the ideal of leaving the past behind and forging for the future. Yeah. Naruto smiled. Sometimes I wish I could see you one more time and tell you all the things I wanted to tell you. How sorry I was for not being stronger to help you. How I loved you more than anything in this village. And how sometimes I didn't care that I never carried blood from your family. You were my only family. I know, Naruto, but I can't stop being proud of you for forging ahead and blazing your own path. Sometimes, I wonder if you are the redemption I was given for my past mistakes. Hiruzen sighed. But then again, maybe this is why we are meeting today. Huh? Naruto turned and saw the world slowly fading. It seems our time is up. I'm glad we had this time to talk, Naruto. Wait, it's really you. But I thought the machine was just making an illusion of you. He laughed. Wherever you go, Naruto, always remember, no matter your decisions, I will always be proud of you. Because the will of fire, it burns brighter in you than anyone else. Naruto saw his body starting to fade. Wait, no. Please don't go again. I have to, Naruto, but I'm always watching over you. Just like they are. Naruto reached out for Hiruzen, but his body disappeared and all that was left was a white room. Naruto fell to his knees and cried, Old man, please, come back, please come back. Naruto looked up. Please, I don't want to. I know, but your weapon is in front of you. Naruto looked up and saw a dark black staff in front of him. It had intricate markings on it and some old script written on it. Reaching out, he touched the weapon and soon the world turned dark. A sliding door was heard and Naruto looked behind him and saw the exit. Walking to the door, Naruto could only feel Summer. Hey kid, Sukuna, I really don't want to talk about what I saw. Please, just leave me alone for a bit. Okay. Reaching the door, Naruto turned around and frowned. You're watching over me, huh? I guess that's why I never gave up. He smiled, and I still won't. Walking out of the chamber, he saw Beelzebub standing there. He had a cane in his hand with a skull as the pommel. Hey, he frowned, rough time. Yeah, don't particularly want to talk about it. Beelzebub nodded. Cool staff. Naruto looked at it and smiled. Yeah, from what I gathered, this is some kind of weapon designed for my new style. Naruto swung the staff around and concentrated his chakra into it, with it releasing a powerful slam into the ground. The room started to shake and Naruto smiled. Oh yeah, I'm going to love experimenting with this. Beelzebub smiled. I understand you're feeling my weapon is the same way, but we can practice once we are out of here. He turned his head, although I wonder where our guide went off to. Naruto looked around the room and agreed. Buddha was nowhere to be seen. It seemed like he just wandered off somewhere or he didn't expect them to survive. But then again, he had the means of unlocking and locking the place, so if that was the case, why was the door open? He was more confused. Naruto and his brother walked out of the chamber and shut the door while Naruto allowed Sukuna to take over. Geez, hate people messing with this, so gonna lock this back up. He went through 2 hand signs and soon the place glowed with an ominous purple and black color before he handed control back over to Naruto. Okay, now we find our so-called scout. Once the brothers reached the surface, they saw Buddha, but he was standing next to a pile of dead people and doing a silent prayer for them. May you find peace in the next life. He turned. Oh, I see you both passed your trials. Congrats. What the fuck happened? Well, flashback. Buddha wandered to the surface again while concealing the entrance under an illusion. Geez, kinda doing something here, can you guys come back later? Out of the tree line came a few figures. One was a man-like figure with horns growing out of his head, dark red eyes, and blue skin. He had fangs in his mouth and dark scales around his face. Another was a woman-like figure with the bottom of a horse and carrying around a weapon in her hand. Buddha saw that it was a bow with some arrows in a quiver on her back. Next to her was another horned man and another woman with snake skin and dark yellow eyes with slits. So, again, can I help you? The man growled. Move, we seek the tomb. Oh, you mean the machine? Buddha picked his ear. Yes, sorry, not going to happen. I'm afraid that this is off limits to the likes of you. Us? The woman with the bow pulled out an arrow and aimed it at him. Her bowstring pulled back and ready to end his life on the spot. We said move, human filth. This place doesn't belong to your kind. Buddha rolled his eyes. Yeah, well, it sure doesn't belong to someone like you either. He raised his hands over his head and yawned. But if you guys really want to try your luck, then fine. He held his palm out and his weapon appeared in his hand. Let's play then. The woman fires an arrow at him. Buddha tilts his head to the side while placing his weapon on his shoulder with a bored expression. Want to try again? She growled, pulling out 2 arrows and firing them. Both arrows missed him as he just took a small step to the side. What in the hell? Buddha smirked. Come on, you gonna have to do better. He ducked. The man with the horns and red eyes had appeared behind him with a strike aiming for his head. I see, so you use your chakra to blend into the shadows of the tree and attack me from them, meaning that you can only access the shadows and travel based on them all connecting, which is the reason why you're so confident in the forest. The man growled and dipped back into the shadow, but he appeared yet again and aimed his claws at Buddha's throat. He grabbed his offending hand with his free hand and threw him over his shoulder. Man, you guys are pretty weak. The other male demon roared and held his hand out, and he saw some kind of red energy forming in the palm of his hand. Huh, how annoying. Buddha took a step forward and kicked off to the right. The ball of red energy missed him and the monsters were confused about how he was predicting them. Where? How? Buddha appeared behind the second female demon. Sorry about this. Buddha reached out his free hand and grabbed her by the back of her neck. A quick twist of the wrist, the neck snapped, and she fell to the ground dead. He turned and dodged around another swipe from the man in the shadows who growled and quickly ducked back into it. Buddha sighed before closing his eyes and stood there. A hand reared out of the shadow, reaching for his back. But the hand was grabbed by his hand and he was pulled out of the shadow. He growled and swiped at Buddha, who quickly released his hand and sent a straight kick to his stomach. The man crashed into the tree and found his neck stomped on there. The tree gave way from the impact alone, but the man died from the sickening sound. 2 left. Turning around, he focused on the woman with the bow who fired 3 arrows. He held his staff up and in a flash of light a shield appeared blocking the arrows. They hit the shield but flew away from him. The woman found 1 arrow in her side, another in her neck, and the final arrow in her head, killing her before she could hit the ground with a massive thud. Then there was one. The man roared and held both of his hands close. Soon a dark red orb started materializing in his hands and the energy started to form into the shape of a sphere. Die. The man aimed the sphere in the direction of Buddha, who just raised an eyebrow. Okay. The energy ball flew from his hand and went straight into the shield. Should warn you, he spoke from behind his shield. This shield doesn't just reflect attacks away such as arrows, but it also sends them straight back at full force. The energy orb left the shield and flew right back at the man who held his hands out to stop it. The orb shifted ever so slightly and crashed through the man's neck, causing blood to explode out of the wound. His body hit the ground with a thud and his eyes dulled while Buddha turned his shield back into his staff. Well, that was messy. He walked over to the bodies and after grabbing the 2 bodies on the side, he put them close together. The monsters in question were put close enough with their arms over their chests. The man sighed before putting his hands in a praying motion. After the silent prayer, he turned to see his 2 new friends staring at him in shock or boredom. Flashback ends. And that is what happened. Naruto raised an eyebrow and saw that everything he said matched up, but he was still confused. Who are they though? Don't know. Buddha shrugged. Probably people so consumed by dark chakra they couldn't see straight anymore. Buddha sighed. Sad they had to die, but I wasn't about to let them hurt me or you guys. Naruto nodded. Well, should we just burn the bodies? I feel like burying them is a bad idea given we don't want to attract attention to this spot. Buddha rubbed his chin and after snap of his fingers the bodies caught fire. Well, that should end this mess in a flash. He waved his hand around and with another snap of his fingers, the flames dissipated, leaving nothing behind. Naruto had to admire the level of skill he was demonstrating. It was unusual to see someone produce such control currently without using hand signs to pull it off. But him, he just snapped his fingers, rolled his wrist, and snapped one more time and it was done. Nothing he had seen outside of Sukuna was this impressive. So, Buddha walked up with a smile on his face. Looks like your weapons are pretty cool. Beelzebub touched his skull cane. Yeah, I think mine works in conjunction with my power, so it should be useful. But I feel like there is more hidden in its power that I have yet to see, so it is going to be interesting. Indeed. Naruto held out his staff. I think mine is a reflection of my new path. I'm not 100% sure what it can do, and while not as impressive as either of your weapons, I think mine has something that is more than meets the eye. Naruto twirled the staff in his hand and then swung it down. The minute his staff hit the ground, the earth cracked under the impact and he smiled. Now then, Naruto focused his chakra into his staff and aimed it upward. Let's see if this works. Naruto imagined wind appearing around his staff and he soon found the wind out of the tip of his staff. Smiling, he swung his staff and released a large gust of wind, sending it flying through the air and into the nearby trees. At first, nothing happened, but then the trees slowly slid off the base and onto the ground. Naruto nodded his head. So this staff works in conjunction with my chakra and what I want to do with it. Indeed. Beelzebub rubbed Naruto's head, but we'll have more time to practice when we are away from here. Naruto narrowed his eyes. Stop rubbing my head. He smiled. Sorry little brother, but it is just fun to see you so annoyed at such a simple thing. Naruto growled. Beelzebub smiled and Buddha laughed. Man, you guys are funny. He smiled. I've decided. Decided what? I'm going to be joining both of you on your journey. Naruto's eyes widened while Beelzebub stopped his action and stared. Why on earth would you do that? He smiled. Because I want to. Buddha walked up to them. Besides, I think traveling with friends who you can one day call your family is more interesting than traveling alone. He smiled. So, where to first? Naruto sighed. This guy was an enigma even by his normal standards. I mean, he was sure he was this pragmatic at a point, but he was also realistic when he encountered some strangers in the past. But this guy, he was just out there. He already had his mind made up and was convinced they were going to let him tag along. Then he thought about it. How would they stop him from tagging along? He could follow them in the distance or follow them closely. There was no reason he couldn't. They also couldn't stop him physically, as neither of them knew his full strength or talent, so what is really stopping him? Besides, Naruto didn't mind the guy too much and did see him as a reflection of him as a child, but also mature enough to handle the weight of the world. While he loved having Beelzebub traveling with him, another person wouldn't hurt. Turning to him, he saw his brother shrug. Up to you. Naruto nodded. Welcome aboard, Buddha. He smiled and threw his arm around his neck and smiled. Call me big bro. Not gonna happen. Oh, it will. After all, if he is your older brother and I'm older than him, that means I'm big bro. So, let's get moving. Naruto sighed. He wondered if he would regret this decision down the line. Naruto and his two brothers are sitting around a table at dinner. Buddha was stuffing his face with everything he can enjoy while Beelzebub and himself were just eating as if they had more table manners. Not that he was a slob, but Naruto couldn't tell if he was inhaling his food or actually enjoying it. So what now? Naruto put his chopsticks down. What should we do? Buddha gulped down his food. What do you mean? I mean, we have to decide what we are doing next. Naruto sighed and leaned back in his chair. Right now we have what we wanted from this area, so we should leave after resting for the night. But the question is where we should go from here. Buddha scratched the back of his head. Wave. Naruto shook his head. No, we can't put them in any more danger than we already have. Hiding me was probably enough trouble for them as a whole. If the leaf sends out their ninja, we could be spotted, and let's face it, I have a very recognizable face. He sighed. That, and if they are tracing my steps, they are going to go to Wave eventually, and that might be a political matter I want to avoid. The two nodded. Then what about one of the other nations? No. Naruto held up his fingers. Kiri is currently in the midst of a civil war. If we went there, we would either be killed or dragged into their conflict. He tapped his second finger. Kuma would want to use us for breeding material for their military. And given how bloodline obsessive they have been over the years, it makes sense. Naruto tapped his third finger. Iwa, that place is just a powder keg, as I look like the fourth Hokage, meaning if we go there someone might attack us just on that principle alone. The two brothers nodded. It was sound reasoning, and they too wanted to avoid unnecessary conflict. What about a minor country? Buddha sighed. If we did that and Konoha found him, they would surrender him in a heartbeat to avoid a war with them. He snapped his fingers. We can't hide in Kyuso or any of the other nations, as there is already tension all around thanks to the invasion and death of the third. Plus, with the prison probably already being known and the box I was in destroyed, people are probably scouring everywhere for information. True. Buddha snapped his fingers. What about the bending nations then? The two brothers looked at Buddha. Think about it. They are in their own conflict, so we can hide out there. Also, the rumor of the Avatar has always intrigued me, so I want to see what kind of person the Avatar is. Plus, they have no ties or loyalties to the elemental nations, so that means we can just go there and not worry. Yeah, but the war that is brewing. Beelzebub frowned. Should we really be taking it that casually? We don't know how powerful they are over there. Plus, who knows, other shinobi might have fled there too. Naruto sighed. But he does have a point. It is one of the few places in the world we would be safe and not tracked on a regular. Unless we start something. Naruto rolled his eyes. Yeah, unless we start something. But again, it is our best option. It takes what, about 3 months to get there? Yeah. Then we can be there by the end of the year and start our new year in a new place. Buddha smirked. Okay then, all in favor for the trip. Buddha raised his hand, Naruto raised his own, and Beelzebub raised his hand. I didn't disagree, seeing the disbelief on their faces. I'm just saying that it seemed to be an option. We are just looking at the positives and not the negatives. Naruto nodded. He understood his reasoning. He really did. But at the same time, there was no reason to hesitate in this situation. So, tomorrow we head to the Bending Nations. Maybe while we are there I can master this Kai blocking fighting style I'm using. Buddha smiled and his eyes lit up. I can learn all about the monks in those lands and the path of the Avatar. I can't wait to meet the legendary being that is said to reincarnate 100 times over. Beelzebub sighed. I'm more curious about their Kai and how it relates to chakra and if it is possible to replicate. Naruto frowned. You're not going to experiment on people, are you? No, trust me, I won't. He sighed. I'm not going to cross that line, but I will want to witness and understand how it is different from us and how we can master it if possible. Naruto and Buddha nodded before Naruto picked his drink up and smiled. To new beginnings and to our family. Family. Both brothers joined Naruto in clinking their glasses together and planning out what they need for the trip ahead. Konoha. Tsunade was not pleased, not in the fucking least. She was so agitated she just wanted to murder those bastards on the council. Just thinking of their heads popping off their shoulders like bottle caps was just enough to make her want to do it. Shizune expressed concern for her, especially since she wasn't drinking for more than a month and now seems to be throwing herself into her work more. God damn it, where are you, Naruto? The Lord had made it clear that Konoha was in a lot of trouble. With the revelation of who Naruto's parents were and the facts of his treatment and the lies played against him, she was aware that the Lord had all of them taken back to the capital and punished extensively. While she was curious, she heard from Asuma it was best not to ask, stating there are things there that are just better not known for their own safety. She left it at that. But now, they were trying to find Naruto without using the toads, which proved difficult. Their lord ordered them to investigate the blood prison, and upon arriving there her shinobi reported the massacre. Apparently the whole place was gone. Nothing was left but skeletons and dry blood that was smeared all over the place. Hearing this, she was terrified of what was awakened inside of the prison, since there were rumors that the box of eternal bliss was somewhere in their country. No one knew where exactly, but they knew it was out there and that they had to find the damn thing. It was the one thing that all the major villages agreed on, finding the box and removing it from the equation once and for all. The next report made her blood run cold. The box was destroyed. Nothing the world had done could destroy that damn thing. Nothing could break it, and nothing could stop the box. From what they understood, that damn thing was indestructible, which is why removing it and hiding it was the best option for all. However, hearing this news made her fear the worst. Naruto was put into the box and he came out of it alive. But what changed about him? What did he see inside the box that just broke him so badly? Was her betrayal that bad? Did Jiraiya never coming to save him have an effect? She knew that they needed to find him and explain the situation to him, but she was sure of one thing. He would never trust the village again. Why would he? They betrayed him, spat on him, gave him nothing but heartache. And now they are hunting him down because of the Kyuubi. Why should he swear loyalty to them? The Lord understood this, but feared leaving someone like Naruto without someone to guide them was a bad thing, and offered to take the boy into the palace as a way to protect him from all that wanted to exploit him. However, they first had to find out where he went. But that was only the beginning of their troubles, and she knew it the minute she heard a knock at the door. "Come in." Entering the room, she saw the familiar form of Tezuna. She heard about this from the report where Naruto helped inspire their country to stand up to the tyrant that ruled over them, allowing them to be free of his rule and gaining prosperity. Konoha had a good trading deal with them, and it was something that she feared losing. "Tezuna, it is good to see you." The old man looked at her and walked into the office. "I think we need to speak in private, because this is something serious." Tsunade frowned and ordered the ANBU out of the office. Once the seal was up, she motioned for him to continue. The man took a sniff of his drink before putting it down. This was a surprise, as from what she was told he was quite the drinker. "To be honest, I'm here to talk to you about the matter relating to our trade agreement. Oh, while I might not be a shinobi or run a powerful village, I refuse to work with a village that spat on the face of someone that was our savior." That pit feeling was coming back. "What do? Don't condescend me," he sighed. Naruto stopped by way of a few months back. Her eyes widened. That meant he was going to familiar places, meaning they could. He left more than 2 months ago and we have no idea where he went. Just that he was leaving and heading off in a direction with another young man. A young man. Interesting. That meant Naruto was starting to find allies, which is both good and bad. Good that he has someone to watch his back, but bad as they don't know if he was working for the Akatsuki. "Thank you for telling us, as we are currently looking for your prized weapon." Tsunade's eyes widened. Yes, he told us about how he was treated as a weapon. How the village treated him as a child. What he went through. What happened on his last job where he stopped that traitor from running off. He then told us what happened while he was in the prison. He gripped the bottle. It was so horrifying that he couldn't tell us everything. But I could see it. The evils that were committed to that child. He was a changed man. I saw it. His eyes were wary, his mouth spoke half-truths, and he seemed to carry so much pain on his shoulders it made me want to cry. My daughter has been in tears after learning what happened to him and tried to smother him with love and affection. He sighed. But it was not enough. I know that look better than anyone. He is a survivor of the worst conditions, and he is not someone you want to trifle with. Tezuna, no, your actions say more than enough. I promised Naruto that he would be safe, and I will keep my word, but at the same time I can't abide by what you all have done with him. So as soon as we pay off what we owe, there is no more alliance. We have others willing to join us and protect us from other villages. At this time, we are only temporary allies. He smiled, which is more than you all deserve. Please let me explain everything. I know this seems bad, and it is, but there is a reason you should listen. Tezuna frowned and listened in. Traitors in her court. Her lord coming down to try the traitor, to find out about the prison he was in, and the horrors that were experienced at the hands of these rogue council members. I thank you for telling me this, but my decision stands, as does my country. So even if you kill me, it won't matter, as this is the deal we agreed on as a nation. He frowned. However, you should know he was doing better. That is all. I will say goodbye. Tezuna turned on his heel and walked out of the office with Tsunade putting her face into her hands. Great. Just fucking great. I wish I could kill those council members. Those fucking idiots don't realize the damage they have done. She sighed. We might not have a choice but to reveal what happened to everyone. We don't have a choice either way. Jiraiya appeared on the other side of the room. While it was true he asked for the ANBU to leave, he didn't know about Jiraiya, so they did abide by his wishes. They just played with his words a bit. What do you mean? The Lord. He has decreed he is going to reveal everything the council members have done. Soon the entire continent will know. Tsunade groaned and leaned back in her chair. Great, get me the brats from his generation. I think we need to nip this in the bud before it gets out. Got it. Jiraiya disappeared for a few minutes before returning with Naruto's generation and Konohamaru, who insisted on being there to hear about Naruto. He was one of the few people that really hated that he was treated as a monster and swore as the next Hokage that he would make sure Naruto is remembered as a true hero. He would stand by him no matter what, and that was something he would fight for. It was making her happy that she had a successor in mind. I'm glad you are all here. She looked at the group. As you know, Naruto has been missing from the village, and I'm not sure if you all know what happened. Sakura bit her lip in frustration. Hinata moped. Kiba was neutral, and so were many in the room, but those that knew him were worried. There is a decree that is going out in a few days. The Lord is going to reveal everything that my former council members did to Naruto. I mean everything, and right now I want you all to know the real reason why they did it and what he went through. Kakashi, who had a sad expression, held his hand up. Should we let Sasuke know about this? Tsunade sighed. He already knows. The group was shocked and angry. Why did the traitor? He was in the room when it happened. It was during his trial, and while I will admit letting him off with what he has is not something I would do, he did show remorse and did accept his mistake, so I'm willing to give him one more chance, as that is something Naruto would want us to do. The group nodded. Now for those in the know, the Nine Tails attack devastated our village years ago. It even cost us the 4th Hokage. However, what you all don't know is that the Hokage sealed the tailed beast away. She looked at his picture on the other side of the room. While powerful and talented, there was no real way to stop the Biju other than through the most dangerous sealing method. So he used the Death Reaper seal to seal the Nine Tails into a baby. Shikamaru sighed. It was Naruto. Yes, the group was left stunned. The greatest natural disaster their village had faced, and Naruto had it sealed inside of him. Everyone was shocked beyond belief, but some of them started to think about his life and realized there was a reason for it. The children distancing themselves from him, the way the adults looked and talked about him, and how the teachers treated him. It made sense. How he was purposely singled out. How he was mistreated through his time at the school, and how he was trained in the wrong fashion and they were told not to help him. Now it made more sense, and some like Neji understood Naruto knew better than anyone what it meant to have a seal. His was worse than Neji's. If he let fate determine his life, then what is the point of living? Lee on the other hand saw a fellow outcast who was never given a chance, and he felt terrible he didn't stand up for him sooner. Kakashi frowned and could only apologize to Minato and Hiruzen for not doing better in teaching his team and taking care of Naruto when he had the chance. He was a coward, he admitted that much. He can make excuses, but at the end of the day he had the chance to be there for him. He just didn't do it because he had an excuse for it. I can see you all understand why the council did what they did, but we finally found out exactly where he was sent. He was sent to the blood prison in Kusa. The room was confused, most of the younger generation, and horrified and angry in the case of the older generation. Kakashi, his eyes filling with tears and his fist was clenched so tight that he was drawing out blood. Guy was growling at the thought of what Naruto went through in that horrible place. Kurenai, while not as close as the rest, was terrified of what he had seen and what was done to him. Asuma growled and was crushing his cigarette in his hand out of frustration. The blood prison. Tsunade turned to Sakura. It is considered the darkest prison in the entire world. It is where the worst of the worst are sent to serve out their sentences without anyone to help them. They are treated worse than slaves and treated as nothing more than afterthoughts. Naruto was sent there. Could you imagine what his time there was like? The group shivered, knowing that some of their parents told them what happens in some of those places and thinking Naruto went through all of that after being betrayed. Some just went over to the trash can and heaved up their stomachs. We learned something else. The group turned to her. We found out that the box of eternal bliss, a dangerous and forbidden object from the age of the 6 paths, was found in the basement of the prison. The group was terrified by this news. The younger generation were told that they would be explained to each of them later, but for now the story was about Naruto. We have no proof, but we have someone that saw Naruto recently claim that he was there, and we think he was thrown into the box. How did he survive? Guy, we don't know. Honestly, we don't know. From the reports, the box was destroyed from the inside out. Something or someone busted out of the thing and destroyed the prison, murdering everyone in the crossfire. Everyone was shaken. Why you think it was Naruto? Everyone turned to Hinata, who was pale with puffy red eyes. Yes, Tsunade looked at them. It is the only logical conclusion we can make, but we don't know how he did it. At this time, I wanted to warn all of you. The details will be released through our Lord, so be prepared. Also, be prepared for changes, as many allies that we have thanks to Naruto are not going to be happy about this. Everyone in the room nodded. This was going to be a huge turning point for Konoha and the rest of the world. At least, the elemental nations, but they didn't know that. End of the year. Naruto and his brothers smirked across the bow of the ship. Our new journey and our new beginning. In a nearby abandoned airbender temple, Naruto was situated on the floor while meditating. He had been doing this more often in the last few years than he did before. Sukuna suggested this as a way to help deal with stress and to relax his body and his mind. The Toads even supported this idea, stating it was a good way to relieve stress and it is important for training down the road. While he didn't understand what they were getting at, he accepted it as a good habit. The last 2 years had been great for him and the bending nations turned out to be as great as he thought they would. He and his brothers started exploring the land and finding everything and anything they needed for long travel while understanding the new currency system. Buddha was reckless with money, so Beelzebub was put in charge of their finances to make sure he didn't leave them broke due to his appetite. Both of his brothers did enjoy their time exploring the nations and seeing bending in action. But the thing they enjoyed more was finding out about the Air Temple and the history of the nations as they are currently. Apparently, the Avatar was rumored to be somewhere in the world, but no one knew where exactly. Some speculated that the boy that was supposed to be the Avatar was dead, while others assumed that he was in hiding somewhere in the spirit realm. Naruto speculated that possibly he was somewhere in the world because from what he gathered the body was never found. Meaning either he died doing something really stupid or he found some way to continue living without needing to eat or sleep. He wasn't sure exactly where he would be, but he had to guess it was in one of the lesser countries that no one bothers. But that was kinda the end of the high points with the Avatar, as they learned that the Airbenders were wiped out a couple hundred years ago by the Fire Nation. The story was that they did it to smoke out the Avatar and to make sure he never threatened their dynasty. However, they were skeptical as there had to be more to it than that, given that it sounds like the child was completely isolated from the rest of the world, left in a state where he never had a chance to really be a kid or grow up and making his own decisions. It was annoying to think about, but there was nothing they could do other than explore the ruins. That is when Buddha found something in the temple, and in a rare moment both brothers saw irritation on his face. They could see a small vein form on his forehead and his teeth crunching the lollipop in his mouth. Buddha never got angry. That was the one thing they both knew since traveling with him for more than 2 years. It was rare to see him get angry at anything or anyone. He usually brushed it off or found a way to talk things out and become friends. But there were occasions where he could show his irritation with someone if they really were asking for it. However, this was rage. He never divulged what it was, but he did state, "We are going to need to look more into the Fire Nation history soon." Naruto and Beelzebub just agreed. There was no point in arguing with him. Like them, he was stubborn and he wouldn't budge on this topic. After a few days he calmed down, but he seemed to be reading everything they could find in the first Air Temple. From there they traveled to some other temples and found more scripts that were hidden away, and he just seemed to get angrier as he read. As for them, Beelzebub got to study some people who could bend. He didn't come to any conclusions yet, but he did state that he was interested in learning more of how people learn what elements they can bend or how they know they can bend. To him, it was a mystery he wanted to solve. On top of that, he wanted to know why it flowed differently to chakra and why it seemed to be less dangerous to one than chakra. Naruto got to his studies, mostly mastering his elemental releases and mastering his hand-to-hand skills. Jinjutsu was just out of his reach due to the amount of chakra he had and the fact that he can't perform them. He knew how to see through them and dispel them, but he would never be a master in this field like Buddha was. There was a day where he demonstrated it and explained that due to the raw amount of chakra Naruto has, there was no way for him to actually master Jinjutsu without literally balancing his chakra to the point of it being more detrimental. While this hurt, he accepted this and went to work on his other arts. Of the 5 basic elements, Naruto had mastered 3 in the 2 years training and traveling, while almost mastering his 4th element. Fire and wind were easy enough for him to learn since he was closely aligned to them, while water was another he was working on during their time. Traveling across the ocean helped in his studies, and thanks to Buddha he mastered water releases faster than expected. Lighting proved to be difficult due to the fact that he wasn't very compatible with it. Only earth was worse. Naruto had gotten lighting down to where he could perform some moves with it, but he ends up overloading his body with this power. Meaning, too much lighting release and not enough control means bolts of electricity explode all around him. Earth release was the hardest to master as he didn't understand the basic principle of moving the earth. To him he was just stuck in this area and decided to hold off until he can find a better teacher than Buddha. He too was stumped as this was his worst element, as well with water and lighting being his best. But the area he improved the most in and was proudest was his hand-to-hand. Between his battles with Buddha and Beelzebub and his spirit battles with Sukuna, he finally got his Kai blocking strikes down to a fine point. Plus he foregone his overpowering approach and settled for being more loose with his movement, and more refined with his strikes. He was able to predict strikes better, and he was able to even use their own momentum against them. While he wasn't a master of it, he could now destroy people's arms and other spots by hitting them in their kai points. Thankfully, they were similar to chakra points, so he could get the positioning down quickly. But the biggest thing is that his style allowed him to overload the nodes as well, causing them to simulate an explosion inside of their body. In terms of chakra, Buddha described it as unlocking the gates, but due to the high output he makes, it was really draining. He estimates those with small reserves might fight harder and faster for maybe 5 minutes, but that is it. Then they might overdo it and then die from the usage. Naruto had to admit he wanted to see how this would work if he did it on benders. But for now, he was just satisfied that his fighting style was coming together, and that his merging with Sukuna was going well. He already was starting to see the tattoos forming on his arms, signaling that they were becoming more in tune with one another. But Dark Chakra and his staff proved to be the hardest to master or use. Dark Chakra still was impossible for him to control, and his murderous impulses and dark emotions start emerging too fast. So, studies of Dark Chakra were pushed off until he mastered all 5 elements, and he figures out the weakness he has yet to overcome. Not sure what Sukuna meant, but Naruto knew it was important. The staff was another thing. While he was able to use it and even defeat opponents with it, mostly bandits, he found he couldn't get it to activate. For some reason the staff didn't want to do anything for him, and he was frustrated by it. But he figured that when the time comes it will help him. But for now, the brothers were relaxing in the temple and thinking about where they should go next. So, Buddha swinging his legs around while sitting on a high windowsill. I think we should head to Amashu. It is the nearest town to this temple, and let's be honest, we need supplies. Naruto sighed. You just want to stock up on snacks. True. Naruto got to his feet and dusted off his robe. Well, I guess it wouldn't hurt to head to the nearest city so we can get supplies. But then I think we should go and check out these Fire Nation colonies that everyone is talking about. True. Beelzebub was lying on the floor. I heard that their creation is what sparked this conflict with the Earth Kingdom and other nations. Something about how they didn't belong, and that balance needs to be maintained. Buddha rolled his eyes. Balance changes with each generation. What is balance in one era might not be balance in another. It makes me wish the people of these nations understand that, and let's be honest, the Earth Kingdom is big enough that it wouldn't miss some land. True. Naruto sighed. The kingdom was formed under some kind of king. Apparently he conquered all but Kyoshi Island, which broke off thanks to the avatar Kyoshi. Supposedly she separated herself from the rest of them to protect her homeland, and now it is just an island in the middle of the sea. I heard in town that town where the king is from is not the biggest fan of her or the avatars of any generation. Makes sense. Buddha jumped down from his spot and yawned. They lost their king to someone that is viewed as a hero to everyone around them. But in reality, who knows the real reason she did what she did? He shrugged his shoulders. But back to the point, Amashu first, and then we can go and check out those colonies. Naruto smiled. Yeah, I think this is going to be a fun trip. The 3 brothers proceeded to leave the Air Temple and begin their trek back into the Earth Kingdom and heading to the city of Amashu, not knowing the destiny that awaits them. Konoha, the village had seen better days. 2 years, that is all it took for their village to suffer a serious fall from grace. Between Sasuke running off to Orochimaru, a man that murdered the 3rd Hokage and attacked the village, and did crimes that are so evil no one dares speak of them, to the council's actions and behavior, and finally the banishment of Naruto. The Fire Daimyo was furious after everything he learned from the council. The corruption in the school, to the markets, to the politics, to the spies, everything. It was just so staggering he wondered why his brother never bothered to interfere before, but he guessed it was due to his lazy nature. To deal with this issue firsthand, he had all the council members hung from trees outside the royal capital with plaques for all that passed them, serving as a warning for those that dared to commit harm to the innocent in his country, and to make sure the families know this is their final warning. Afterwards he released everything: Naruto's imprisonment, his treatment at the hands of the village, the lies that were told about him, and why he was sent to the prison in the first place. When people found out about the blood prison, there was so many emotions going on and confusion as to how he survived whatever happened inside. Speculations were running rampant about how he escaped, but the most shocking thing for everyone was the destruction of the box. No one knew how he did it, but they were thankful its dark power couldn't be used anymore. However, that was the beginning of the troubles for Konoha. Koyuki, the ruler of the land of spring, came to Konoha, ripped into every single person in the room, and ended all partnership with the village. Explaining her disgust and anger, she even shredded the Ika Ika movie script, putting Jiraiya in the hospital. Waterfall was doing their best to try and make amends with their tailed beast, but after learning of her horrible treatment, she was brought to the fire capital in order to protect her. The leader of Waterfall didn't want to do this, but he knew it was for the best. Plus, he knew there were those who would sell the poor girl if the chance came, and he didn't want that feeling on his hands. The girl, Fu, was terrified to hear about what happened to Naruto, and she pitied him. But she swore that she would make the most of this second chance and began her studies into the shinobi world, with the fire daimyo providing all the support she can want. Suna had the worst time with Gaara. Not only did they have to stop him from coming to Konoha, but they had to deal with his mood swings. Gaara knew something was wrong when he couldn't find Naruto on his visit to Konoha, but for some reason he couldn't bring himself to cause him trouble, figuring he might just be out of the village as they said. He never bothered to look into it, and that ate him up. The guilt of not actually trying to look into the matter killed him internally. But he swore he would make it up to him, and thus when appointed as Kasuke, he ordered that the alliance with the Leaf be revised, stating that while they did have a hand in the invasion and won't deny his involvement in it, it was Naruto that stopped him, not Sasuke, not the Jounin. Naruto did that, and he gave him his life back, made him believe in the people around him once more. For that he owes Naruto everything, and if the Leaf was going to treat him like that, he wanted to renegotiate their terms. The lords were more than willing to do so, and their lord managed to get them the better of the deal, and helped improve Suna's standings to the point they were seen as a legit threat to anyone that dared to trifle with them. While their alliances were on thin ice, their trading business plummeted. They were losing money left and right, and they were struggling. Danzo managed to make sure some of their more shady contacts and partners stayed the course, but he also knew they needed legit resources. While he thought about removing certain people from power, he scratched the idea, knowing that would only bring more suspicion down on them and they couldn't afford it. So he settled for maintaining their more illegal and illicit dealings while allowing Tsunade to manage everything else. Koharu and Hamura took a more active role, helping to manage the council, the civilians mostly, and also discussing changes to things such as the school and what is available. They started inputting more into the school, pushed back the graduation for this generation, and even added more courses so students understand what they are getting into. On top of that, more Jounin and Chunin were offering time to help with classes and thus improving the overall performance of the students. Also, graduation no longer required the 3 moves. Those were necessary to even attempt graduation, which is a field test. On top of that, they implemented Tsunade's desire for a med ninja program and had Shizune in charge of it, while also moving some of their finances around to help keep the village stabilized and allocating to more important matters. Luckily, they weren't in ruin, but they definitely were not in a great place. Tsunade, on the other hand, she was just upping the training of everyone in the village while also dealing with the mess related to Sasuke and the Akatsuki. Luckily, on the later, since Naruto was in the wind, they didn't have to worry about them coming to the village again. However, they did send out reports of this group to the other villages all over the continent to warn them if they showed up. Kumo appreciated it and even expressed interest in talks again with their new Raikage, assuring them that he would come with his brother and 1 guard only. Tsunade agreed, hoping to build new ties with the other villages. Iwa, they were silent at first, but eventually the 3rd Tsuchikage sent her a letter thanking her for the information and asking about talks as well, stating that he felt it was time to put some matters to rest when it came to the last war. He admits there are some that were still resentful, but he was past that. War was war. So that was some of the positives going on, but she knew with Sasuke now cleared to join the forces again, they were going to need to make some serious changes, which is why she was glad about this recent information. In her office, she had teammate, "I'm glad you all showed up. I have a long-term mission for you." The 4 nodded. "This mission will take you to a new continent known as the Bending Nations. We were formally requested by a man that rules over what is called the North Pole. Apparently, he is concerned with a sensitive matter in their lands and want our help." What exactly is the matter? Shiranai was worried what she was getting into. While long-term jobs were fine, she didn't want to be doing a job they weren't good at. It is a protection job for one avatar. Apparently, he is some kind of messiah in training or something. He just saved them back in the North Pole recently, and that he was traveling to what they call the Earth Kingdom. Apparently, there is a war with them and another nation known as the Fire Nation. They are at each other's throats and things are just getting worse as time passes. So, they want our help in protecting the child until he can fulfill his destiny of saving them all. Ma'am, no offense, but shouldn't you send a team like Team Guy or even Team 7? They are more equipped in dealing with combat situations and long-term bodyguard work. Tsunade shook her head. Normally you're right, but Team Guy is currently unavailable due to the upcoming treaty talk with Kumo and fears that Neji might lash out. Hayashi asked for him to stick close to him in hopes of getting something back from their nation, while at the same time, They thought it best Hinata be gone while this is going on, especially after what happened with the previous raikage. Kurenai sighed and knew this was a good reason. As for Team 7, they are currently on suspension, remember. Sasuke might have joined back up with his old team, but he is still not allowed to go anywhere. He is still mandated to train in the village until we can be assured he is not a flight risk. She also knew that Orochimaru was waiting for another chance to get Sasuke, but she knew the less they know the better. Kurenai conceded the point. When do we leave? Tsunade handed them a scroll. Pack for long term. Jiraiya luckily has contacts out that way due to him traveling there for inspiration about a year ago. Apparently due to the trip he is now helping us bridge a gap, and due to something that happened the tribe leader in the north apparently knew how to contact us. I see. Kurenai shook her head, figures it be this case. She just hoped whatever contact he made didn't cause unnecessary tension with the women of the Northern Water Tribe. This scroll will transport you to the Northern Water Tribe leader, and he will point you in the right direction. The four nodded and exited the office to say their goodbyes before heading out. Tsunade just hoped this mission went smoothly, not knowing of the collision course that was coming. The Avatar and his gang. Flying high in the sky was a white and brown bison creature with multiple legs, horns, and a saddle on his back. It had a long tail that hung behind him loosely while waving from time to time to help keep them flying. The creature in particular was known as a sky bison, once a prominent creature that flew through the skies all over the nation, but due to the fall of the airbenders they became harder to find. But this one happened to be carrying the most interesting passengers. The first was a young man about 17, dark brown skin, hair tied up in a ponytail, wearing a blue tunic and brown pants with a boomerang strapped to his back. This man had dark brown eyes and a pair of sandals on his feet. Next to him was a girl that was about 16, and she is wearing a blue dress tunic, covering her legs minus a slit in the middle allowing her free movement. She had her hair tied up in braids with her brown hair coming all the way around her hair with blue ornaments hanging in her hair. She had brown eyes like her male friend and seemed to admire the sights around her as they flew through the air. The last one was a 15-year-old boy. He was bald. He had blue arrow tattoos over his body, wearing an orange and red monk's outfit. He had a staff next to him and was holding onto the reins of the creature. He was dressed as one would as a monk and had a white fur creature at his side that was a spider lemur. The creature was sitting next to his owner and just staring ahead. Hey, the girl looked down at the ground below. There is someone down there and I think they are trying to wave us down. Ong, the bald child, looked over the side of the bison, confirming what Katara, the girl, was seeing. I see. Maybe they are trying to tell us something important. Ong quickly took his reins and steered his bison down. Appa yip, yip. The creature groaned before changing directions to the ground below. The beast in question flew steadily down to the ground. Once landing, Ong hopped off his friend and stood there with his staff in hand. Greetings. The man dressed in a green uniform. It is an honor to meet you, Avatar Ong. Greetings. Ong gave his goofy smile while Katara walked up to him with Sokka pulling up the rear. Also good to see you as well, the mighty Katara. Katara gained a smug smile. The mighty Katara. I could get used to that. Sokka rolled his eyes at his friend and his sister, but he narrowed his eyes staring at the group of men before them, talking to Ong about meeting a man named General Fong. Hearing this, he was concerned what this could mean. Ever since they left the North Pole, Sokka knew that word was going to get around about the Avatar and his traveling bison. More, he knew that people were going to try and use Ong for their own selfish desires and wishes. While he understood people had their reasons, he knew that not everyone was looking for what was best for Ong. Sokka knew Ong was gullible and was easy to sway to someone's side. Plus, he was more than willing to do things to better everyone else's lives while not caring for his own. Sometimes that selfless attitude was nice, but he did think that sometimes was too trusting. Like he was with Jet, he had suspicions about what he was really up to, but his sister and Ong were just too trusting of the man, thinking that he couldn't do anything wrong and that he was a victim. While true he was, it was not at the hands of the villagers below but at the hands of the Fire Nation soldiers that attacked long ago. Sokka could hate the idea of the Fire Nation, but he knew not everyone from the place deserved to be punished for the ideals of their leader. It was one of the reasons he was always so paranoid and concerned, because he almost always had to do double the work for everyone around him, especially when it came to his sister being all too eager to do things her way, not caring who got hurt in the process, or that sometimes her decisions were very naive. But he would hold his tongue for now and see what is going to happen. The troops lead the group into a meeting with a long-bearded man wearing an earthbender's general outfit. Greetings, Avatar Ong and company. I'm glad that you could all arrive here safely. We have gotten reports about what happened in the North Pole. Ong nodded. Yes, the encounter was. The man stood up. Ong, I think you are ready to face the Fire Lord. Sokka's eyes widened, and right there, He knew what he was after. Katara was quick to jump to her feet. You're crazy. Ong is nowhere near ready to face the Fire Lord. Yeah, besides, the only reason that I was successful in the Northern Water Tribe was, yes, your avatar state, when you do all that glowing. He waved his hands around. With that power you could easily defeat the Fire Lord and bring an end to the war. Sokka looked and saw that his sister was angry and upset while Aang was conflicted. Ong, you can't be seriously considering this. I mean, he is basically saying we should just rush straight to the Fire Nation and fight them head on. We don't even have a plan, right, Sokka? He nodded. The general frowned. I understand your hesitance, and if this is not the path you want to follow, I understand, but I want to show you something. He motioned them to follow him. Walking through the barracks, they arrived at a door, where he opened it, revealing it to be a giant infirmary. Many of the soldiers were injured, scarred, or unconscious from the pain they were dealing with. Doctors were rushing from patient to patient, trying their best to help alleviate their symptoms. This is the result of a Fire Nation attack. Many of my men are heavily injured and can't afford to move out anytime soon. The longer this war drags on, the worse it is going to become. Ong frowned at the sight and soon was left to his own devices. Katara and Sokka joined him in another room where they had time to talk. Ong, as bad as it is, we need to keep moving. Katara, I know, but you saw them. Yes, I did, but come on. Can you honestly say that this is the right path to victory? She waved her hands around. You just learned how to master water bending. You don't even know how to use the other two elements. But with the avatar state, maybe I could defeat the Fire Lord and end the war sooner. Katara turned to her brother, who was staring outside the window watching the troops train below. Sokka, aren't you going to say anything? Ong and the general aren't wrong, but... Katara scoffed. Whatever. If you idiots want to rush into something stupid, feel free to do so. Just don't ask me to help. Katara watched as Ong turned on his heels. I have to do something, Katara. He walked out of the room and Katara growled in annoyance. This always happened. Whenever he sees people heavily injured due to war, he seems to just gravitate to being their problem solver. Why didn't you stop him? She turned to her brother. You know that this is reckless. Sokka turned to her. I know. Which is why I was about to say that while I agree that Ong and the general are right, we have to face facts. Ong was just lucky in the North Pole. If he didn't have some kind of spirit guide through that whole mess, who knows what could have happened. He frowned. Plus, even with the return of the spirits for the moon, we still don't know the full extent of the avatar state. Hell, Ong doesn't remember anything from his time in that state and doesn't seem to be in control. Which means for all we know he could end up killing us in the crossfire. Katara sighed. At least you see reason. But why didn't you? Because you cut me off. Sokka glared at her, making her sheepish. But at the end of the day, it is Ong's decision. He rubbed his chin. Also, I guess a stop for a few days would be a good thing. Give us time to find out what is going on in the Earth Kingdom since we were last here. Plus, we can restock on any supplies we might need and gather info of any major changes. Katara sighed. She knew her brother was thinking for the group, but sometimes she wished he would just help her. He wanted Ong to go through this whole process. But why? What good would come from it other than making him more frustrated that he can't use it? She figured she'd just watch from the distance for now. Walking out of the room, she left Sokka alone, but he was looking back at the troops and noticed how few there were for such a huge fortress. He had to wonder what happened to most of the army. Heading out of the room, he decided to get started on gathering information and gathering resources for the road ahead. Time skip. They had been at the fortress for at least 3 days. Ong had agreed with the general's plan of activating the avatar state, but nothing they did worked. They tried all kind of weird methods and expected methods to use its power. But Ong couldn't summon the power no matter how hard he tried, and even tried recreating the feeling he had while using it. Sadly, nothing worked and he was left feeling depressed. He needed this power if he hoped to defeat the Fire Lord and bring peace to the realm. But how can he do that when the power he needs is out of his reach? Walking through the hall, he saw Sokka sitting against the wall with a frown on his face. What? Ong glared. Are you here to criticize me? Sokka shook his head. No, I'm just here to talk, that's all. I got a message from the Northern Water Tribe. Huh? How did they know we were here? Sokka shrugged. My guess is that they knew this would be one of the locations we would have to reach, but another reason is that there was a falcon of some kind that found us. My guess is that they used some means of tracking us with the bird to pull this off. He rubbed the back of his neck. Anyway, the letter was interesting. Apparently they were sending someone to us, a group from what I gathered. They apparently were hired to protect us during this journey to assist you on the trip through the nations, making sure you can do your job. Ong frowned. Where are they from? Don't know, I just know they are supposedly really dependable, and they are on their way. They should be here soon. Ong sighed. great, more things to think about. You need to relax. Master the avatar state was never going to be easy. Sokka, I need to master it now. He waved his hands around. You saw those soldiers and you have seen what the Fire Nation has done. If unlocking this power is what it takes, we have to pursue it. You mean it is the quickest solution you can come up with? Sokka stared at the angry bald teen. Sit down, motioning to the stool in front of him. I don't. You have time now, sit. Frowned before taking a seat. Look, Sokka sighed before putting his hands on his knees. I talked to some of the soldiers here and I learned some interesting things. Like, have you noticed as big as this place is, there is not enough troops to occupy this place. Yeah, but he said he was losing it to the Fire Nation. Sokka shook his head. They have been attacking caravans for the Fire Nation colonies. What? Yeah, one of the soldiers told us that the general ordered an attack a month ago, sending out a large group of troops to destroy and capture anyone and anything from a Fire Nation caravan heading to the colonies. At first I thought it was more about troops and movement, but I found out that they were just civilians coming back from a trade deal with a nearby town. Frowned. He didn't know that. Why would the general neglect to inform him of this? I learned that when they attacked there was 3 people guarding the caravan other than some off-duty soldiers. The 3 boys slaughtered most of the troops, one even doing it with nothing more than Kai blocking movements. He shivered. From the 2,000 soldiers they sent, only 100 returned. Paled. They killed that many. Yeah, apparently it was quite the massacre. So much so, he had to rebuild his troops and hide what he did. But the soldiers still talk about it when he is not listening. He sighed, which is one of the reasons I think he is trying to use you in the avatar state. With you by his side he can save face at the expense of the massacre. I get it. But still, I have to do something. Sokka, the war has been going on for hundreds of years. I need to end it. What if you did have the avatar state? How are you sure that will be enough? I mean, think about it this way. You know I love my boomerang, right? He held his weapon out. Imagine I threw it and it didn't come back to me. I would be defenseless, no way to protect myself from any of my enemies. That could be the same scenario for you. If you don't know how to stop yourself when you're in that state, what good are you on the front lines? What? The last time you used that form you were in a berserk state of mind. You were lucky there were spirits around to help keep down your temperament, or it could have been worse with you accidentally killing innocent people. Aang bit his lip. As much as he wanted to counter the point, he knew Sokka was right. Do you think that maybe I should go back to learning the other elements first? Sokka smiled. It is what the others did. There must be something to that method that we are not seeing yet. If we do this, I think we will find the answer to how to control the avatar state. Aang smiled. Okay, I'll inform the general tomorrow we are leaving. Good. I think our guard will be here tomorrow, so we should be able to leave then. Sokka watched as Aang went off to find Katara to inform her of his decision, and he sighed, happy that they were going to get moving again. But he did have to worry. Would the general let them leave that easily? The man was determined to use Aang as a weapon of mass destruction, thinking if he was in the avatar state he was unstoppable. But Sokka knew from just his gut and what he learned of spirits during his short time traveling with Aang there was more to it than just a power boost. There had to be. He knew Katara was more worried about Aang's well-being and his desire to help people that sometimes gets them into trouble. Sokka was more worried about just how they were going to leave without a fight breaking out. Next day, Sokka and his sister were waiting by Appa where they saw the general talking to Aang. But they saw the man was getting agitated and started yelling at Aang about something. But Aang was standing his ground as best as he could before. He turned from the man and walked their way. However, the minute he did, the man bent some earth and knocked him over. Katara quickly unleashed some water in her bottle and sent it at the general. The man blocked the attack with some earth he bent into a wall. Katara quickly gathered the water back up and started attacking the man. Sokka was about to rush in and help, but he saw the troopers in his way. He frowned and reached for his weapon, only for some earth to hit him in the stomach, knocking him to the ground. Stay down, water triber. One trooper put his boot on the back of his head. Stop. Aang was reaching out for Sokka but then heard Katara grunt before seeing her sink into the earth. Please stop it. I don't see any glowing. He slowly sunk her further into the earth. You don't have to do this. The general frowned before moving his hand again and making her sink completely below the earth. Apparently I do. Aang saw Katara disappear. His mind went blank and soon he started glowing. His body was floating in the air, and his eyes were white. Yes, the general smiled brightly. It worked. This is how you can activate this power. He quickly bent the earth, releasing Katara from her prison. You see, the pain of losing your loved ones is the key. The man went stiff and fell to the ground. How revolting that you would resort to such cruel methods. Out from his shadow emerged a young girl wearing a heavy coat and purple pants and sandals with lavender eyes. You are the worst kind of person. Seriously, what do we do? Hiba frowned. His dog was whimpering. The kid is glowing and I don't think he is seeing anyone friendly right now. Shino, in his heavy overcoat, nodded. Yes, this is a concern and my bugs can't get close to him. Kurenai frowned. We have no choice. We have to find a way to reach him. Kurenai went through some subtle hand signs and quickly casted a genjutsu on him, hoping that if he sees more pleasant images maybe he will calm down. Hinata got in position behind him with her eyes activated. All the power is flowing through his back into his neck, if I hit it just right. She quickly prepped herself while taking a deep breath. In a blur she appeared behind Ong and touched the back of his neck. His body went stiff and soon he collapsed to the ground. Luckily Akamaru caught him before he hit the ground. Okay, looks like he is okay. Hiba frowned, but he is still glowing. Is that a good thing? Halt. The three turned to see the Earth Kingdom soldiers taking stances. How dare you interfere in our goal of ending this war? Kurenai shook her head by exploiting him, triggering an emotional reaction out of him, trying to force a power out that you can't control or he can't control. That is reckless and you know it. She started subtly making hand signs. You don't get to judge us, you filthy outsiders. One soldier took a step forward but soon found himself in a daze. Genjutsu, passionate viewing. Kurenai sighed. This technique would keep the troops busy while they load up and leave. We have to go now. Her team nodded and quickly gathered the others and loaded onto Appa, which Sokka took control and quickly made them fly off into the sky. Katara rested Ong's head on her lap, looking on confused and concerned as the glowing had stopped but he was out. Thank you. She turned to the group. You saved us, but who are you? Kurenai smiled. We were hired by the Northern Water Tribe to protect you. Protect us? Yes, I'll start from the beginning. Ong, on the other hand, was having his own spirit journey. He met the last Avatar Roku, who explained everything to him. What the Avatar state was, the importance it held, and the danger that lurked if you died in this state. He even explained the vague history of the war before sending Ong off. Leave it to Roku to leave out one important detail. Ong looked behind and saw a being dressed in a dark cloak. Their face was covered where he couldn't see who he was, not even his eyes. The man was imposing. The figure was muscular and seemed to radiate power. Who are you? The man rubbed his chin, his hands covered in black and blue wraps. That is a hard question to answer. Considering you don't need to know who I am, I guess you could call me Yang. Okay. Now then, I wanted to pass on a little advice to you, Ong. Beware who you trust, because even someone's memories can lie. What do you mean? The bin waved. You'll see in time. Until next time. Wait. Ong soon awoke on Katara's lap and them flying through the air. He wondered, who was that? Naruto and his brothers were crossing over the trail and saw the city of Amashu. Well, that's depressing. Naruto looked at the entrance to the city. On the front of the city was a giant flag, the Fire Nation flag. Well, it would seem that the kingdom fell. Buddha chewed on his gum. So does this mean that the Earth Kingdom is in trouble? Naruto shrugged. My guess is that as long as the capital lasts, they'll be fine. Naruto raised his hands above his head, but either way we should head in. Arriving at the front gate, the brothers talked to the guards and soon were allowed into the city. Upon entering the city, Naruto noticed that most things were working as before. The market was still flourishing, traders were still active, and it seemed the citizens were getting along well enough. Overall, it didn't look like anything happened other than the invasion coming to their doorstep. Buddha looked around. It seems that there was no conflict here, or at least the tension died really quick. Beelzebub shook his head. No, my guess is that the city surrendered before the forces arrived, which is why I think we don't see any mass pile-ups of corpses and dead people in the street. Naruto tilted his head. Makes sense. If you know you can't win a straight-out confrontation, throwing your lives away is stupid. True. Buddha looked and went over to one of the stalls, talking to the owner and trading some money for more food. I wonder who is running the city. Word was that the city was ran by a King Bumi. I heard that he is known as the Mad King and heralded as one of the strongest warriors in the entire city. Not just that, but his earth-bending skills are said to be second to no one in the world. Mad King. Beelzebub raised an eyebrow. How is he known as the Mad King? From the rumors, he makes people think outside the box and comes up with the craziest ideas. But at the same time, he is known for his tactics that literally have turned the tide of war against someone in a flash. Plus, I heard he is a talent at playing board games and is known as one of the top players of Go. You did a lot of research. Naruto shrugged. Better to know the terrain and the people that run it. Last thing we need is another run-in with a local warlord, Buddha. He glared at him. Buddha, taking a break from his snacks, gained a question mark. What? Naruto sighed. Walking through the market, the brothers quickly got some supplies and materials while also getting info about the invasion and how it went. Supposedly, Bumi surrendered. No fight, no resistance, he just gave up right off the bat. While the brothers were confused by this method of combat, Naruto had suspicions of why he did it. But he wanted to convey this with the king himself, but he doubted that would happen. No doubt they have him locked up somewhere far out of sight and mind and have him under tight guard. Plus they probably are restraining him in a way he can't use his bending. That was the one thing Naruto always noticed. If they couldn't move their hands or bodies in any shape way, they can't bend. Plus in certain situations they can't even use their bending depending on their alignment. Such as earth bending. No earth, then you can't bend. Meaning that if you are put into a metal container or even a wooden one, there is no way out. But Naruto was sure there was a method of escape, but that was not important. If Bumi did surrender, Naruto was sure that there were others that didn't agree with the tactic and were planning on attacking the leaders to get their king back and take back their city. Fools, that is all Naruto could think in the moment. Naruto looked up and saw some Fire Nation soldiers decked out in their armor, and they seemed to be escorting a woman carrying a baby and a teenage girl. She looked to be about his age and had her hair in buns while wearing a Fire Nation dress. The girl had a sour look on her face and seemed to be looking for anything interesting. The woman was smiling at the girl and Naruto couldn't make out what she was saying, but it would seem it was some kind of disagreement. Hey, Naruto turned and saw Buddha motion with his head. Naruto narrowed his eyes and nodded. He swiftly pushed through the stalls and crowd and arrived near the end of the market district. Death to the Fire Nation. Men dressed in robes quickly bent some rocks and stones, sending them flying through the air. The woman on the stairs gasped at the sight of the attack and the younger girl was pulling something out of her sleeve. However, Beelzebub appeared in mid-air before holding out his hands. The stones hit his palms and using his power, caused them to explode on impact. He landed next to the woman and her children. Are you three all right? The older woman smiled and held her son close. Yes, thank you for saving us. Traitor. Looking down, Beelzebub glared at the cloaked men. You're the ones attacking an innocent woman and her children. You would murder a toddler and a young girl just because of the nation they hail from. The man in the lead growled. They are murderers. They entered our home and took over our kingdom. They have no right to be here, especially when it is her husband that is oppressing us. Naruto picked his ear and appeared near one of them in the back. How are they oppressing you? The man turned and soon he shouted they were surrounded. I mean, you guys aren't out of your homes. No one was pointlessly killed, and you can do what you like if you don't cause trouble. It seems to me that you're the ones creating trouble for everyone here. No one asked you, outsider. He threw a punch at Naruto's face. He just slapped the punch down before poking him in the shoulder, making his arm go limp. What did you? Naruto poked his neck, causing his to stiffen and fall over in a heap. Well, that was disappointing. Was hoping for more when it comes to the benders in this nation. The other men roared and rushed him. Naruto swatted away all their punches and pivoted around their movements. Man, these guys are slow, but then again earthbenders have to be firm and direct. So, I guess they wouldn't be anything but strong. Just, they could be a little faster. He hits the others in points of their necks, flips one of them, stomps on his throat, Kai strikes another opponent, and then knocks out the last guy beneath him. By the end of the confrontation, Naruto and his brothers managed to capture 5 men in total. Naruto had them all stunned on the ground. The crowd had dispersed and the woman and her children approached them with Beelzebub. Are you all right? The woman had a frown on her face. What was supposed to be a nice stroll around the city, getting some fresh air, turned into a near assassination attempt. She was horrified that children no older than her daughter had to step in and save her and her children. But she was grateful nevertheless. We're fine, how are you and your children? Naruto looked over at the kids with one twirling a knife on her finger with a somewhat bored expression. But he could see she was on edge, ready to fire at a moment's notice. We are fine. She bowed her head. Thank you for saving us. I know that those men were coming to harm us. Naruto shrugged while Buddha walked back over. Hey bro, looks like the rest of them escaped. How shouldn't you have been able to catch them quickly? Buddha shrugged at Beelzebub. Apparently someone made a water attack and I was busy blocking it that they managed to escape. Too much activity in that area, which means I can't track them. Water. Naruto was confused. What was a waterbender doing in town? He would think on that later, turning back to the family and bowing. Please forgive us for acting out in town. It is fine and don't bow please. She smiled. I owe you my life. Yeah, it was cool how you jumped in. The girl with the knife smiled slightly. Got to tell us how you stopped those boulders though dark and gloomy. Beelzebub raised an eyebrow. You're one to talk. The girl laughed lightly. True, my please, she sighed. Please forgive my daughter, she can sometimes be very blunt. Naruto waved it off. I welcome it. Sometimes it is nice when people tell you how they feel instead of hiding it. Well, either way, thank you. My name is Michai and these are my son Tom Tom and my daughter Mai. We are the family of the current governor of New Ozai. New Ozai. Naruto looked at the family. You mean Amashu. The woman sighed. It is called New Ozai now due to the politics that be in my husband who is hoping to suck up to the Fire Lord. I see. Naruto's sweat dropped. He was pretty sure that the Lord didn't care what he called the city, only that he could hold the city and do his bidding without question. I'm currently trying to find something interesting in town to do. Her mother gave a forceful warning. Well, I guess then it is time for our introductions. Naruto pointed to his brothers. These are my brothers Buddha. He waved while holding a bag of chips, which no one knew where he hid it, and Beelzebub. The black-haired teen nodded. My name is Naruto. Mai looked at them. You guys sure don't look like brothers. It's fine. Buddha waved it off. We get that when people learn we are brothers. We aren't blood related, but to us, we are family. We stick together no matter what. He put his arms around his brothers who both gagged at his breath. He apparently went with another weird flavored chip set. Mai smiled. It kinda reminded her of Azula and Ty Lee. While most would think that their relationship was built more on fear, the truth is that she did love those two as her sisters. Ty Lee was always energetic and willing to drag her into things even if she didn't want to do it. But she always found some way to have fun. Azula, on the other hand, while she was cold and calculating, there was a time she found out the reason for it. Since then she tried her best to be there for her friend, but sometimes her cruelty came out, and it was something that bothered her. Well, Michai smiled. Please, I would like you boys to meet my husband. I'm sure that saving my life will grant you a reward. Naruto looked at his brothers and they shrugged their shoulders, figuring there was no harm. Sure. Naruto smiled. Please lead the way, my lady. Michai smiled and guided them to what used to be the castle which held the king of Amashu, Ong and his group. Ong looked on in horror. Amashu had fallen. No. Katara walked over to Ong. Ong, we need to get moving. With Amashu conquered, only the capital city is safe now. Kurenai frowned. She's right, we need to get moving. Chances are someone might have seen us flying through the sky, and if it is a spy or someone from the Fire Nation, they'll know soon we are here. Hinata nodded, which means we might have attackers coming for us if they saw us land. Ong shook his head. No, I have to go into Amashu. I need to find my friend. Ong, we don't even know. What Sokka? He turned, glaring at him with Katara giving him a stink eye. We don't even know if he is alive. Sokka held his hands up. Look, I know he is your friend, but if we go into that city and they find out who you are, we are going to be in more trouble. Plus, we don't know everything going on in there, and the last thing we need to do is start a riot. Shino nodded. Sokka is right. If we end up starting something in the middle of town or something happens, we could potentially put the civilians in danger. They would suffer at the hands of the Fire Nation. Ong looked down. I know there is a risk, but I can't just leave him here. I need to see him and make sure he is okay. Sokka sighed. Sometimes Ong's desire to be a friend was a curse, and he knew this is not going to go as well as they hoped. Walking to the city, they found a way in through the sewer system while avoiding the slugs that seemed to pollute the sewer. Ong mentioned they were harmless and just covered you in their slime and guck. Nothing more, but that still didn't stop Sokka and others' desire to get out of the sewer faster. Entering the streets, they slowly moved through the crowds of people and started looking for possible sites for where Bumi is hidden, until they reached the market and saw a couple of Fire Nation soldiers guarding a woman and her children. Must be the relatives of the current ruler. Sokka frowned. We should get out of here before death to the Fire Nation. They turned and their eyes widened when they saw earthbenders wearing cloaks sending boulders at the woman. Are they insane? Kiba growled. If they kill them, then the city is going to pay for it. They're patriots. Shino frowned. They are too blinded by the idea of defeating their enemy, they don't think of the consequences. Kurenai was about to do something until she saw a black-haired teen appear in front of the family and stop the boulders just by touching them. She then sensed chakra exploding out of the palm of his hands, causing them to fall to pieces. What? Kurenai couldn't wrap her head around it. What are chakra users doing on this side of the world? As far as they knew, only benders were here, not chakra users. This could complicate things. While she was confident with their skills they could deal with the benders if necessary, since they have no resistance to illusions and alike, she was more worried now that other users were here. But then she saw the other benders attacking someone. He was swatting away their attacks, and after dispatching one he was dealing with the group. He seemed to be winning the fight easily and was hitting certain points on their body, leaving them immobile, while standing on the throat of another. Wait, that body type and that hair? She narrowed her eyes. It couldn't be. Guys. Everyone turned and their eyes widened when they saw Ong leading some of the earthbenders away from the fighting. We're leaving. Kurenai cursed. Everyone retreat. The group took after the airbender and the attackers, but they soon sensed someone behind them. Turning their heads, they saw a young man with large white hair chasing after them while maintaining a bored expression. Kurenai tried doing some hand signs, but Katara bended some water from nearby spots and quickly casted them at the man. He just dodged and weaved under the attacks and was keeping pace, but then when she formed an ice wall he stopped. The group quickly ran down the street and into another part of town, following Ong and the Earthbenders, who apparently were remnants of the King's Guard, and headed to a hideout of some kind. Once they showed them the secret entrance, they entered with Ong the first to ask, "Who are you guys?" The man in the cloak glared. "We're the Resistance, kid. We are trying to take back our city from those fire-bending bastards." Kurenai frowned. "And killing that woman and children is part of this. You wouldn't understand, outsider." He gripped his fist. "Those three were the offspring and wife of that bastard governor. If we took them out, then we would have a chance to take back our city. Or you would have gotten more people killed." Kiba had his hands behind his head with Akamaru barking on confirmation. "If you killed them, all you would do is put your citizens in danger and probably have some of them killed in the process. Then so be it. If that means Amashu is free, then sacrifices are necessary." Ong looked around. "Where's Bumi? Is he leading you guys?" "No, he was captured when they arrived. We were ready. We were willing to fight for our king and our kingdom. But Bumi decided to surrender to them and he got locked up somewhere." Kurenai frowned. "Probably somewhere under a lot of guards and probably where he can't bend." Ong frowned. "I should still go looking for him." "Ong, how exactly are you going to do that?" "Simple, I'm going to get on my glider." Sokka held his hand up. "Idiot." He looked at him. "Don't you think the Fire Nation troops are on edge after this? They are going to be looking everywhere and anywhere for the slightest disturbance. You can't honestly think that flying around the city looking for your friend is a good idea." Well, Ong started looking at his feet. "Look," Sokka put his hand on his shoulders. "I get it, he's your friend and you want to find him. But right now, that doesn't seem like an option. You did come here originally just to make sure he was alive, right? Will we have confirmation so we accomplish that goal? I can't just leave Sokka. We might not have a choice. An assassination attempt on the governor's family. They are going to be scrutinizing everyone." Ong frowned and walked off. Sokka just sighed. "Sheesh, he just needs to look at the facts. You could have been nicer about it." Katara walked up with a frown on her face. "He is just worried." "Katara, we are not in a situation where we can just be reckless. If you haven't noticed, we are in the heart of a Fire Nation takeover, and they are looking for anything that they can validate for killing people." He turned to the troops. "So what exactly is your strategy?" The man frowned. "Not that it is any of your business, but we are planning on launching another surprise attack against the governor. But we heard that the princess is going to be here, so we might take her out too." Kurenai shook her head. "You do that and you might as well bury the city yourself. You kill them. All you're doing is asking for the Fire Nation to murder and mutilate everyone you know. This city will be turned to rubble and nothing will be saved other than the screams of your people. As I said before, who asked you, outsider?" Kurenai sighed. "Sometimes men are such blockheads." "Look," Ong held his hands up. "If Bumi is in the city, there is a reason for it. He always has some kind of scheme or plan going on in his head. But the thing is, we don't know if attacking will affect the plan. So instead, let's do something else." "Like what?" "Leave the city. Leave. This is our home. You're asking us to take the coward's way out." "No." Ong held his hands up, trying to dissuade the yelling man. "That's not it. Think about it. You guys don't have the means of winning this fight yet. So it would be best to get as many of your people out as you can. That way you can all regroup somewhere else and strategize how to take back your city." The leader frowned harder. "And how exactly are we going to do that? All the entrances to the city are under heavy monitoring, and there is no way for us to just evacuate most of the city without someone noticing. Plus, we need a valid excuse to get the civilians out of the city," another pointed out. "Suckers," Sokka smiled. "I think I know the best way to get everyone out of here." Teammate just knew it was not going to be that simple. "Governor's home. Thank you three so much for saving my family. I'm truly in your debt." "It was nothing." Naruto looked at the spread in front of them. "Please though, forgive my brother, he doesn't exactly do table manners." Everyone turned to Buddha, who was just eating wildly before looking up. "What? It is good food." Tom laughed at this and clapped his hands at the man, and he just smirked. Naruto rolled his eyes. "Yeah, you're a genius to a baby, congrats. Still smarter than you." Naruto smirked. "Keep telling yourself that." The governor smiled. "Be that as it is, I do owe all of you a great deal of gratitude. If there is any way I can help all of you, please don't hesitate to ask. I'll keep that in mind, but do you mind if I ask you a question?" "Of course." "Who is the woman waiting outside the door?" The room turned, and as soon as the door opened, the man got up and bowed to the woman, with the others doing the same minus Naruto and his brothers. Standing there was a black-haired girl with gold eyes, her hair up in a bonnet with the Fire Nation symbol holding it in place. Her hair was immaculate and her body was well defined. She had a feminine allure, but at the same time she showed she was ready for a fight. Next to her was a girl with braided hair wearing a revealing pink outfit with a smile on her face. "Greetings, princess." Naruto raised an eyebrow. This dinner was about to get more interesting. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for such parts and adaptations. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.